What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 7 of Chapter 121 Killing 03, the Ye organization becomes famous all over the world. Advertise here. Standing on the deck during the white night, watching the sky getting darker and the setting sun about to sink into the sea level. He said in a voice that only he could hear, "It should be almost time now. Lucci and the others should have brought Rei-san to Zato Island, right?" After Bai Ye knew that Lucci's 7 people had the life card that could lure Zero-san out. Naturally, he will not let go of this excellent method. Relying on the attraction between life cards, 03 and others were lured to the pre-arranged Zato Island. Then take action to deal with them when the time comes to avoid future troubles. Of course, relying solely on Lucci and others is not enough. After all, 03's strength is close to the top among Marine Headquarters Lieutenant Generals. But also with the whole CP8 Feet organization. Not that easy to deal with. So this time Bai Ye planned to take action himself and personally give Ling-san, an old acquaintance, a ride. Avoid unpredictable accidents. Because of this, Bai Ye sent Quirk, Dusky, and Ain away to reduce his risk of exposure. When the night gradually covers the starry sky and drives away the last ray of light, darkness falls. Bai Ye puts on a black waning moon robe and a pitch-black mask, looking like a king in the night sky. It flashed past the Jiji without attracting anyone's attention. At this time, 03 had already brought his men to Zato Island. According to the guidance of the life card, the 7 Luki people should be on this island and never move again. Looking at the life card that was about to fly out of his hand, Ling-san felt increasingly uneasy. Even though he knew it might be a trap, he still came without hesitation. In Risen's view, the worst outcome would be for all members of CP9 Feet to betray the world government. But with their strength, wanting to fight against themselves, plus the entire CP8 Feet, is undoubtedly a fantasy. But after arriving, due to the feeling between life and death for many years, Rei-san felt that he was surrounded by a strong sense of crisis. A little carelessness can lead to death. Rei-san cautiously told his subordinates, "Be careful, CP9 Feet may have rebelled." And just as everyone was carefully investigating, a black shadow suddenly appeared in front of 03. At this time, the life card in Zero-san's hand erupted into an unprecedented tremor. As if to say that the guy running in black in front of them is the member of CP9 Feet they are looking for. And it's not just Lucci's life stuck in Rei-san's hand that is trembling. This is also true even for the life cards in other people's hands that represent several other people. A flash of light flashed in Ling-san's eyes. The lives of 7 people were stuck on this guy. It seems that this is indeed a trap. Rei-san asked, "You killed all the people in CP9 Feet? Or are you a member of the CP9 Feet? Are you Rob Lucci?" Amazing. As expected of a CP0 Feet, he guessed my identity right away. Lucci took off the pigeon mask he was wearing, took out 7 life cards from his arms with a smile, and said, "Are you looking for this?" Rei-san looked at the smiling Rob Lucci in front of him, and his expression became extremely serious. Lucci is the strongest genius in CP9 Feet for 800 years, and Rei-san naturally knows about it. Moreover, Rei-san also knew that Lucci had been designated as one of the preliminary candidates for CP0 Feet long before. As long as someone in CP0 Feet dies or is seriously injured, and there is a lack of personnel, the selection will begin from among the preparatory personnel. Once such a character chooses to betray the world government, it will definitely arouse the dissatisfaction of the world government and shake the status of the spy organization. "No, we must deal with this guy right here." After Risen made up his mind, he continued, "Where are the other members of CP9 Feet? You don't think that you alone can fight against all of us, do you? Let them come out. Continuing to hide in the dark will not do anything. After all, these tricks you know are all given to you by me." Quote. Lucci grinned. He was indeed the only one in CP9 Feet this time. Of course, it's not because others don't want to come. Just because Lucci really didn't want them to be in danger or get hurt. You must know that Bai Ye will not come on the road of seduction, and it will be all handled by CP9. If an accident occurs, death is almost certain. That's why he held 7 people's life cards alone and lured 03 and others here. In addition to being a leader in CP9 Feet, he is more like a patriarch, taking good care of everyone in it. Take all danger upon yourself. Therefore, he must continue to strengthen himself until he can bear all risks. And fighting the strong is undoubtedly the fastest way to become strong. Just when Rei-san signaled CP8 Feet to take down Lucci directly, Byakuya arrived. The 7 black iron balls seemed to blend into the night. With Bai Ye's power of thought, the friction between the iron ball and the air was eliminated. It moves at sub-light speed in the air, just like a fish swimming in water, without making any sound. Before the 7 members of CP8 Feet could take action, their heads were directly crushed by the iron ball. Red and white things splashed everywhere, and a lot of them even splashed on the faces of Rei-san and Theodore. Because everything happened too fast and too suddenly. Even Lucci was shocked by the tragedy in front of him. He originally wanted to delay for a while and wait for the White Knight to come. But he didn't expect that Bai Ye would arrive so quickly and his methods would be so ruthless. A face-to-face meeting. No, not even a face-to-face meeting, the entire CP8 feet was directly wiped out. Only Theodore, the commander with a blank expression on his face, was left, looking at everything that happened in front of him with trembling eyes. At this moment, Ling San couldn't wait to turn around and leave. He could directly kill the strong man of CP8 feet instantly. You can definitely kill yourself. If you continue to stay here, you will definitely die. But as soon as Zero-san turned around, he saw a mysterious man wearing a black waning moon robe and a dark mask appearing behind him. This is the same outfit as Lu Qi, which obviously reveals that the two are members of the same organization. Thinking of this, Ling San was stunned. When did such a powerful mysterious organization appear in the sea? Even their secret service organization has never heard of it. Under the dark mask, a slightly hoarse voice came out, Lord Zero-san, where are you going? At this moment, Ling San began to regret in his heart for his irrational behavior yesterday. If there hadn't been a conflict with Bai Ye yesterday, or after the conflict. Be less indifferent towards Bai Ye. Maybe Bai Ye would not leave the Seven Waters capital the next day. In this way, he can invite Bai Ye to go with him when he feels that the other party has set a trap for him. With Bai Ye's strength, he would definitely not lose to this mysterious guy in front of him. He wouldn't end up in the current situation where his life hangs by a thread. What a pity, if only he knew the Bai Ye that he misses so much. It was the mysterious man who was about to kill him in front of him. He didn't know if he would commit suicide on the spot out of shame. Zero-san forced himself to calm down. Do you know the consequences of killing me? Consequences? What consequences can there be? The most they can do is send more dogs like you to bite me. Bai Ye said disdainfully, when the time comes, I will kill as many as they come. What can you do? As soon as he finished speaking, the clothes on Ling San's back exploded instantly, and 8 chains spread crazily from his back, like 8 flexible snakes swimming in the air. The next moment, under 03's control, the 8 chains were all aimed at Bai Ye, and jointly attacked Bai Ye. The heads of the 8 chains are gathered together, like a flower bud about to bloom. Bai Ye thought, and 8 iron balls also appeared behind him. Just when Bai Ye was about to kill Zero-san directly, Lu Qi appeared in front of Bai Ye in the form of half man and half leopard. Sir, leave 03 to me. I want to give it a try. Bai Ye was not angry at Lu Qi's request for a fight, but instead admired Lu Qi even more. With Lu Qi's qualifications, if he hadn't wasted his practice during these years of lurking in the capital of Seven Waters, he would definitely not be weaker than Ling San, and he might even be able to reach the threshold of a general. Although some time was wasted, it is not too late to react now. During the time when Lu Qi followed Bai Ye, he cultivated the two-color domineering spirit, eliminated his own hidden injuries, and improved his physical fitness. Much stronger than before. Therefore, he needs a battle that can bring real pressure to him. Completely transform the accumulation during this period into your own combat power. 03, who is also a member of the spy organization, is undoubtedly his best choice. Bai Ye smiled and said, since you want to deal with Ling San, I'll go and have fun with Theodore. The moment Bai Ye's figure disappeared, 8 chains attacked together, like sharks smelling blood. Lu Qi's expression was solemn, his arms suddenly turned dark, his muscles swelled, and he forcibly held 8 chains in his arms. Crush it for me. Following Lu Qi's voice, the 8 tightly clamped chains were cut off. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Lu Qi didn't give Zero-san any time to use the fruit's ability again, and directly bullied him forward and fought with Zero-san in close combat. Lu Qi knew very well that 03's fruit ability was suitable for long-range combat, but was not very helpful for close combat. And his strength is close combat. Therefore, if you want to win this battle, you must maximize your strengths. Lu Qi's performance of Marine 6th form was perfect, combining his own fruit ability with Marine 6th form. Developed a set of attacks unique to him. For a moment, Zero-san was caught off guard. Bai Ye found Theodore who was waiting for an opportunity to escape. Theodore looked at Bai Ye who appeared in front of him without saying a word. Of course, he was speechless and knelt down directly in front of Bai Ye. He made a whining sound from his mouth, kowtowed and begged Bai Ye to let him go. Seeing Theodore's appearance, Bai Ye said playfully, I don't have to kill you. Let's do this. I'll give you a chance to live. Hearing that the mysterious man in front of him was willing to let him go, Theodore was so grateful that he almost broke his forehead. Just listen to the mysterious man continue, I will stand here without moving, you start running away now. Let's make an appointment. If you can escape within the specified time, I will let you go. How about that? That's fair, right? Theodore nodded repeatedly. It doesn't matter what is fair or unfair at this time, as long as there is a chance to survive. Then you can prepare to escape now. Just when Theodore turned around and took a step forward, he suddenly heard a very familiar voice coming from behind. I'm counting down to 3 now. Listen to this familiar voice and these familiar words, and then think of what happened yesterday. Theodore instantly realized that the mysterious man in front of him was the Marine Major General Bai Ye from yesterday. Theodore felt ashamed when he thought of how he kowtowed to Bai Ye just now and begged for mercy. Theodore had already guessed that Bai Ye would shout directly, knowing that he would definitely die in Bai Ye's hands. No, I have to spread the news. Theodore subconsciously wanted to shout to Zero-san, but when he opened his mouth, he could only make a whimpering sound. Just when he was extremely anxious, Byakuya's Shinigami-like countdown to harvest sounded behind him. 1. An iron ball instantly pierced his heart. In addition to a penetrating wound on Theodore's chest, it seemed that the incomplete heart was still beating. Theodore collapsed on the ground with blood dripping from his mouth, his remaining consciousness reminding him all the time to spread this big secret. Dip your own blood with your trembling fingers, and write the word, White Knight, on the ground with trembling fingers. After writing the word, Knight, Theodore's mouth cracked into an extremely ugly smile. This was the best he could do. When the time comes, someone will discover these two words and target Marine Major General Bai Ye. In this case, his revenge may be avenged. But at this moment, a big foot suddenly fell into Theodore's eyes and stepped on the words he wrote. Do you really think I didn't see you writing? Bai Ye said, there has been no movement for such a long time because I was waiting for you to finish writing. Then, I will destroy it in front of you, destroying your only hope of revenge against me. This way, even if you die, you can die in peace. Quote. Hearing this, Theodore's eyes widened with anger, endless indignation welled up in his heart, and he died immediately when he was excited. Seeing Theodore's eyes still wide open after his death, Bai Ye couldn't help but sigh. This is what happens when you have a bad mouth even if you don't have the strength. It's really miserable. After saying this, Bai Ye destroyed the word, Bai Ye, written by Theodore. The Knight, written in blood was left alone. Bai Ye originally wanted to wait until after killing Ray-san before writing the word, Knight, by himself. Now there is the blood letter left by Theodore. This is actually a good thing for Bai Ye. On the other side, the battle between Lu Qi and 03 is coming to an end. In terms of strength, Lu Qi is not 03's opponent now. But because Bai Ye is present, 03 needs to devote some of his energy to prevent Bai Ye from suddenly taking action against him. There was no way to concentrate on fighting Lu Qi. Melee combat is the fastest way to distinguish between life and death, and one careless move can lead to death. In addition, there is a gap between the two in melee proficiency. So even though Lu Qi paid the price of serious injury, he seized the opportunity and one strike of the 6-style secret, maximum wheels 6 King's Spear, hit Ray-san right in the chest. The powerful impact directly shattered Zero-san's heart. Won this battle. At this time, Lu Qi was holding his knees with both hands, breathing heavily, his chest rising and falling. There were wounds all over his body and blood was flowing freely. It felt like he was lucky to be able to survive until now. Tisk, tisk, it's really miserable. Bai Ye sighed as he looked at Lu Qi's embarrassed appearance. Faced with Bai Ye's teasing, Lu Qi didn't even have the strength to speak. Bai Ye redeemed the quick healing potion and treatment potion from the system store, threw them to Lu Qi, and said, hurry up and contact Bruno and the others to pick you up, and then you and Robin will go to Guy Island together. Robin should know how to get to Sky Island. When you get to Sky Island, you can find Enel. After this period of recovery, Lu Qi was finally able to speak and asked with difficulty. Is Enel the companion you conquered when you went to Sky Island last time? Well, that guy is a Logia fruit user. He is not weak in strength and has a bad temper. When you go up, you must wear a black waning moon robe. Because I told Enel that I will only wear robes when the time comes. Quote. Lu Qi asked doubtfully, will that guy still attack us? It's hard to say. I feel like that guy's brain is not normal. He is twitching from time to time. He might really attack you. Bai Ye believes that a person who is not weak in strength is definitely very strong, at least it should be above his strength. This made Lu Qi feel a little more worried. Sir Bai, what if that guy really attacks us? Bai Ye subconsciously replied, don't worry, I will avenge you. Quote. Lu Qi was speechless. Can the person described in Lord Bai Ye's words really be regarded as a companion? Okay, I've told you what you need to tell me. I'm leaving now. When you arrive at Sky Island, remember to contact me. After saying that, Bai Ye disappeared from Lu Qi's face like a gust of breeze. Lu Qi saw the two potions handed over by Bai Ye in his hand, and he knew both of them. One was a medicine that worked extremely quickly, but made him miserable. One is a medicine that works slowly and has no side effects. Lu Qi only hesitated for a second, then picked up the medicine that made him miserable and injected it into his body. As Lord Bai Ye said, there is no telling what dangers we will encounter on the way from the capital of Seven Waters to Guy Island. Moreover, that companion is so dangerous. If he really ignores Lord Bai Ye and chooses to attack them, it will also be a great threat. As the strongest among them all, he naturally wants to ensure that he has peak strength and can protect everyone. Whether it's the dangers they encounter on the road or the companion who will take action against them, they are all things he needs to guard against. Therefore, he does not have so much time to recover slowly. He must regain his combat strength as soon as possible to ensure everyone's safety. At this time, Bai Ye was hovering in midair, quietly looking at Lu Qi struggling in pain below, accompanied by Lu Qi roaring like a wild beast from time to time. Only then did Bai Ye completely agree with Lu Qi in his heart. Bai Ye didn't really leave Zato Island until the effect of the potion ended and Lu Qi's injuries were completely recovered. Lu Qi raised his head and looked into the empty air, showing an inexplicable smile. This boss is sometimes quite unreliable, but sometimes he is quite reliable. It's really confusing. In recent times, there has been a lot of discussion among people in Dahai. It wasn't Kaido who attacked the transport ship escorting Jack. As a result, one of Marine's lieutenant generals was killed and one injured. It's not that Marine focused on targeting the beast pirates and sent Marine General Akainu to fight Kaido for 3 days and 3 nights. They didn't stop until the island the two fought on could no longer withstand the crazy destruction. It's an organization I've never heard of before, the Knight Organization. As Morgans exerted his strength, the newspapers that recorded the Alabasta incident in detail and the video of Crocodile's confession spread like a virus on the sea. Especially at the end of the image, the mysterious man wearing a pitch-black mask who calls himself Yi issues a sole question. What is the meaning of Shichibukai's existence? Did Marine actually agree to let pirates uphold justice on the sea? This caused a stir, and numerous franchise countries demanded the cancellation of Shichibukai. They are afraid that they will be the next Alabasta kingdom. This makes 5 elders constantly deal with the affairs of the franchised countries. Marine is also questioned by everyone, and everyone is discussing whether Marine can no longer uphold justice on the sea. There are many such voices even in Marine headquarters. Let the warring states period become extremely anxious. But they didn't care about these discussions. The top leaders of world government and Marine only focus on 2 questions. What does the Knight Organization want to do? Who is this mysterious man who calls himself Knight? After all, although there are many strong men who can kill Crocodile on the sea, they are definitely not many. If such a powerful person who is not weak is allowed to continue to cause trouble in secret, I'm afraid that the world government will continue to deal with the negative impact of Knight. And as another incident happened, the world government completely became murderous towards Yi. Ray-san and all members of CP8 Feet were sent to investigate the disappearance of CP9 Feet leader Spandam some time ago. All contact was lost overnight. After sending people to investigate, it was discovered that their bodies were all on a small island not far from the Seven Waters City. Among them, the most eye-catching one is Theodore, the leader of CP8. The death message left before death, the word, Knight, written in blood. It proves that this matter was also done by the Knight Organization. Moreover, all members of CP9 Feet disappeared, and Zero-san died under the Marine Sixth Form. This undoubtedly made the world government begin to wonder whether CP9 Feet has joined the Knight Organization. The rebellion of the spy organization is undoubtedly the most vigilant thing for the world government. Because they know too much information, once some information is spread, it will be a heavy blow to the world government. After all, many dirty jobs were carried out by secret service organizations under the orders of the world government, and were ultimately blamed on the pirates. If these things spread, it is estimated that many franchise countries will choose to withdraw. Therefore, the world government quickly issued a wanted order for all members of CP9. And ordered other spy organizations scattered around the world to search for information about CP9 Feet all over the world. In the windmill village on the East China Sea, the red-haired man held the latest newspaper, looked at the Knight Organization written in the largest font on it, and fell into deep thought. In the whole sea, who was the first to come into contact with the information of the Knight Organization? It was undoubtedly his red hair. And at that time, he also received an important message from a person who called himself Harry. That is, the Whitebeard pirates, the second team captain, Fire Fist. Ace is the biological son of the red-haired former captain, One Piece, Roger. The red hair went to Ace to confirm this matter. He knew that the Yi Organization did not deceive him. The redhead didn't interfere much with the fact that Ace recognized Whitebeard as his godfather. Just like when Captain Roger was seriously ill and wanted to surrender to Marine. Send them all away and ask them not to interfere too much in their own affairs. Everyone has their own reasons for doing things. There is no need to impose your ideas on others. Of course, Luffy is an exception for red hair. The red-haired man placed the newspaper in front of Luffy and said, Luffy, look, the Shichibukai that Marine identifies with has actually done such evil. You can imagine how dirty and chaotic the Marine is, so you must not become a Marine. Wouldn't it be nice to be a free pirate who pursues his dreams? And Luffy, who had been bewitched by the red hair for many years, had no doubt that there was anything wrong with the red hair's words. Luffy waved his little hand, patted his chest and said confidently, Don't worry Shanks, I won't become a Marine. No matter how many times Grandpa beats me, I will become a pirate. In a few months, when I turn 18, I will go to sea immediately and become a free pirate. Go pursue One Piece, pursue your dreams. I want to be a One Piece man. Listening to Luffy's bold words, the red-haired grinned from ear to ear, and said with great joy. This is what a real man should do. I believe you will definitely be able to become One Piece in the future, cheers. Cheers. Luffy drank the wine in one gulp, and until he was drunk, he still shouted that he wanted to find the One Piece and become One Piece. Looking at Luffy's appearance, the red-haired man smiled contemptuously. Garp, a stubborn old man, still wants to fight with me. Just when the whole sea was restless, Bai Ye took the Jijiru and arrived at the Sabayati Islands. It is rare on the sea for a private ship like Bai Ye to fly the marine flag. Originally, people gathered around the pier in circles, wanting to see who would get off the ship. But when they saw Bai Ye walking down in major marine uniform, they all ran away in panic. None of them even dared to look back, for fear of being stared at by Bai Ye. Before Bai Ye arrived at the marine branch base, the news of the butcher's return spread throughout the Sabayati Islands. For a time, everyone was in danger and the streets were deserted. I was afraid that the butcher had just come back and wanted to catch a few disobedient chickens to scare the monkeys. They didn't want to be in front of chickens waiting to be slaughtered. When Bai Ye arrived at the marine branch base, Quick and the others had not arrived yet. After a brief chat with Smoker, nothing happened on the Sabayati Islands after he left. Everyone acts honestly and according to the rules. If you need to pay it without any reminders. In the nearly 3 months since Bai Ye left, he had received a huge wealth of nearly 700 million belly. This is what was left after part of it was handed over to the Warring States Fleet Admiral. One can imagine how much oil and water there is in the entire Sabayati Islands. But similarly, those who have reaped such huge benefits must pay a certain price. These days when rules are enforced in the Sabayati Islands. I don't know how many senior world government officials and nobles from various participating countries. Expressing dissatisfaction with Bai Ye, the top marine officer stationed in the Sabayati Islands. Although warring states blocked most of the people for Bai Ye. But after all, many people hate Bai Ye in their hearts. Many people are even willing to pay 300 million belly to put a reward on Bai Ye's head on the black market. He had heard about these white knights, but he didn't care. If they are dissatisfied, let them be dissatisfied. If you don't accept it, bite me. After chatting with Smoker, Bai Ye went to Marine headquarters. He has not forgotten what Fleet Admiral said on the phone during the Warring States period that he was promoted to Lieutenant General of Marine headquarters. As long as it is formally awarded, he can gain the world's source power again. This is a top priority for Bai Ye. Only when I arrived at the Marine headquarters in the White Knight, I suddenly found that there were several times more ships parked at the pier than before. Moreover, the atmosphere in Marine headquarters is much more serious than before. It seemed like something more important had happened. With doubts, Bai Ye came to the door of Sengoku Fleet Admiral's office, only to find that Sengoku Fleet Admiral was not there. Just as he was preparing to leave, he spotted the guards of the Sengoku Fleet Admiral and stepped forward to ask. Isn't Sengoku Fleet Admiral here? The guard explained, today the Warring States Fleet Admiral held an impromptu marine high-level meeting. Most of the top marine generals were called back, as if to discuss how to deal with the sudden appearance of the Knight organization. Quote. The guard obviously knew that Bai Ye and the Warring States Fleet Admiral were interested in him, so he explained so much to Bai Ye. If the ordinary Major General Marine came, he would at most reply that the Warring States Fleet Admiral was having a meeting. No explanation will be given at all. Listening to the guard's words, Bai Ye murmured, no wonder there are so many ships parked at the pier. It turns out a high-level meeting was held. Moreover, it is still a meeting against me. It really makes people curious about what is being discussed in it. It would be great if I could attend the meeting and listen. Pity. Bai Ye thanked the guard and was about to leave when he suddenly heard the guard say, Hey, Major General Bai Ye, aren't you going to be promoted to Marine Lieutenant General soon? This meeting is aimed at people with the rank of Marine Lieutenant General or above. People like you who have been promoted to Marine Lieutenant General should also be able to participate, right? Hearing the guard's words, Bai Ye's eyes lit up and he became eager to try. There was no other way, he was really curious about how Marine would discuss how to deal with him. Moreover, it is such an amazing feeling to attend a meeting by yourself and discuss with others how to deal with yourself. There is a feeling of breaking into the opponent's senior management. Seeing that Bai Ye also wanted to attend the meeting, the guard took the initiative and said, Major General Bai Ye, why don't I ask the Warring States Fleet Admiral first, and you wait for me at the door? If possible, I will call you in. Okay, thank you very much. Bai Ye followed the guard to the door of the conference room. Within a minute of entering, the guard came out with a smile and said, Warring States Fleet Admiral agreed, Major General Bai Ye. Oh, no, Lieutenant General Bai Ye, you can go in. Quote. Watching the guards leaving, Bai Ye couldn't help but sigh that there are still many good people in this world. Bai Ye adjusted his military uniform slightly and opened the door directly to enter, instantly attracting the attention of everyone in the room. Bai Ye looked around and was startled. Oh, good guy. Marine Fleet Admiral Sengoku, Marine Hero Garp, Marine Staff Officer Suru, 3 Marine Generals, 2 General Candidates, and more than a dozen Marine Lieutenant Generals were all present. Just saying that this lineup can fight against 3 royal groups at the same time is not an exaggeration at all, right? If Bai Ye is added to this, all pirates can be defeated directly. Warring States pointed at Bai Ye and introduced him proactively. Major General Marine Bai Ye's promotion to Lieutenant General Marine has been confirmed. That's why he will be allowed to participate in this high-level meeting. Bai Ye smiled and nodded to everyone, saying hello to his colleagues. No one expressed dissatisfaction with Bai Ye coming to attend the meeting. After all, they all knew that drought Jack was defeated by the 18-year-old boy in front of them. With such a dazzling record, they naturally won't say much. Aokiji, who was most familiar with Byakuya, stood up and took the initiative to let Byakuya come to his side. Akainu's expression didn't change when he saw Bai Ye, he still had a poker face. The way Kizaru looked at Bai Ye was a little strange, as if he had some inexplicable hesitation. There were not many seats present, and from the 2 Marine generals to the Marine Lieutenant General, they basically all stood up during the meeting. Byakuya stood next to Aokiji, and a familiar lyric suddenly appeared in his mind, which fit the current scene very well. At the age of 18, I stood there like a slave, vowing that you would see me from now on. Next time there is a meeting, Laozi must sit down for the meeting. Sengoku said loudly, I just mentioned that the Knight organization suddenly appeared and killed Crocodile, one of the Shichibukai. And according to reliable intelligence from the world government, the Knight organization subsequently killed 03 of CP0 feet and all members of CP8. CP9 feet who has lost contact is basically certain to have joined the Yi organization. It can be said that the emergence of the Knight organization has caused great turbulence to the stability of the sea. Quote. Other Marine senior executives had no contact with the spy organization and did not care about the news. But Aokiji, like Shiro Yoruichi, has performed missions with 03. Now, after suddenly learning that Rei-san died in the Knight organization, I couldn't help but feel very surprised. Facing Aokiji's surprised gaze, Bai Ye, the real murderer, had to pretend that he only knew the news, otherwise it would easily arouse others' suspicion. Warring States continued, according to the orders of the 5 elders, the Knight organization must be eradicated as soon as possible. Now it is necessary to determine the amount of the bounty for their organization. Moreover, we discussed a practical arrest plan and tried to eliminate the Knight organization in a short time. Quote. Listening to Warring States' words, Bai Ye wanted to commit suicide and shouted directly on the spot. I am the founder of the Knight organization. If you get rid of me now, the Knight organization will be eradicated. Then, one person confronts the Marine headquarters and shocks the sea. It's a pity that Bai Ye can only think about such an exciting plot in his mind. Bai Ye will not expose his identity until the world source power is harvested. Chapter 122 Sengoku Speculation, Doflamingo's Request. Advertise here. After Warring States finished speaking, the conference room fell into silence for an instant. It is not an easy matter to deal with this new Knight organization. We are in the light, and the other side is in the dark. Whether the other party will be discovered depends entirely on whether they act. If they don't take action, there will be no way to trace their whereabouts. This is completely led by the enemy. Not a clue. Counselor, he said, if you want to deal with this Knight organization, you must understand what their organization wants to do. Only after determining the enemy's intentions can we wait for an opportunity to take action. Quote. Aokiji said, judging from now, they have taken 2 shots in total. Killed Crocodile, one of the Shichibukai, for the first time. The second time he killed the spy organization belonging to the Tianlong people. It is difficult to deduce their true purpose from this. Quote. Garp, who was sitting aside, picked his nose and said carelessly, what other purpose could it have? I think it's to maintain peace on the sea. Anyway, Crocodile and the spy organization are not good people, so it would be a good idea to kill him. Warring States looked at Garp, who looked like a dead pig that was not afraid of being scalded by boiling water. He had a headache and couldn't help but remind him. Lieutenant General Garp, we are having a high-level meeting now. Please pay attention to your words and deeds. Moreover, whether it is killing Crocodile or the spy organization, it violates the laws of the world government. This is not true justice. Cut. Garp took out a dozen donuts from his pocket and ate them without paying any attention to what Sengoku said. In Garp's view, even if the Knight organization is nothing, it is also stronger than Crocodile and the Secret Service organization. If his identity didn't allow it, otherwise after learning about the crimes Crocodile had committed in the Alabasta Kingdom, he would have wanted to take action himself. At this time, Bai Ye looked at Garp blankly. Damn it, is it so easy to guess the goal of the Knight organization? He was actually struck by the words of the old guy Garp. However, Bai Ye looked at Garp in surprise and was not afraid that others would find out about his abnormality. Because the expressions of most Marine lieutenant generals present were similar to Bai Ye, and some were even more exaggerated than Bai Ye. Warring States was extremely regretful at this time. If he had known better, he would not have allowed this old guy to attend the meeting. I didn't say anything useful, but said a lot of things that were useless. Not to mention delaying the meeting process, it can also easily have a negative impact. At this moment, Warring States turned his attention to Bai Ye, who had just entered. If Bai Ye hadn't been on the road and couldn't make it back in time for the meeting, Warring States would have definitely let Bai Ye come to the meeting. Therefore, when the guard mentioned that Bai Ye was at the door, Warring States let Bai Ye in without hesitation. Because in the heart of the Warring States period, I still feel that Bai Ye has something of his own. Maybe it can bring him unexpected surprises. So, Warring States took the initiative to ask Bai Ye. Bai Ye, what do you think about the true purpose of the Yi organization? Bai Ye said unexpectedly. Ah. What's my opinion? Wasn't my true purpose revealed by Lieutenant General Garp? However, seeing everyone focusing on him, Bai Ye cleared his throat, pretending to be thoughtful and said, actually, I don't know much about the Ye organization, I only have a few introductions I saw in the newspaper. However, I found that the actions of the Knight organization seemed to be aimed at the world government and did not affect us, Marine. Therefore, we at Marine might as well focus more on the problems that we really should solve. Quote. Bai Ye's words immediately attracted everyone's attention. Especially distinguish between world government and Marine. It makes people even more curious about what Bai Ye will say next. Sengoku asked curiously, what did you mean when you said that we at Marine should focus on the real problems that should be solved? Bai Ye said loudly, it's very simple. Marine's main responsibility is to maintain the peace of the sea and fight against pirates. But now, a pirate like Crocodile who has done many evil things can actually be recognized by the world government. To give these pirates the legal right to plunder, they only need to hand over part of it. When our Marines faced Shichibukai's robbery, we actually had no right to deal with it. The existence of Shichibukai is undoubtedly a serious blow to our Marine's prestige. If things continue like this, there will still be a need for our Marine to exist. If all the big pirates become legal pirates, wouldn't the sea be peaceful? Warring states seemed to understand the meaning of Bai Ye's words, but he still needed to make sure. You said this because you wanted to. Byakuya said firmly, I propose to abolish the Shichibukai system. As soon as this statement came out, everyone in the conference room looked at Bai Ye with shocked eyes. It seems to be saying, how dare this young man? How dare a young man who is still Major General Marine dare to say such a thing? And Warring States also looked like he couldn't believe it. He asked Bai Ye to tell him how to deal with the Ye organization. But what Bai Ye said had nothing to do with the subject. On the contrary, it made the theme of the meeting go further. Garp, who was eating donuts, ate all the donuts in one bite, stood up and said, I agree with Bai Ye's idea. The Shichibukai system has not brought any results. Instead, it became a protective cover for those pirates. Marine's reputation on the sea is getting worse and worse, and the Shichibukai system must be abolished. Admiral Akainu is a person who hates all pirates, and the Shichibukai system undoubtedly steps on his bottom line. Therefore, when I heard about the abolition of the Shichibukai system, I expressed my support clearly. Moreover, he also proposed to arrest the other 6 great pirates. Aokiji is also unwilling to establish the Shichibukai system, and since he has a good relationship with Byakuya, he has no reason to object. But the last general, Kizaru, said nothing and looked like he didn't care about anything. However, this is also consistent with his usual style. If you want to make him more positive, you probably have to tell him that his salary has been increased. The remaining Marine lieutenant generals expressed their support for the abolition of the Shichibukai system. You know, when they usually deal with pirates, they receive too much cowardice from Shichibukai. Previously, in order to take the overall situation into consideration, one could not break out. Now, Byakuya is the first to speak out, with Marine hero Garp, Generals Akainu and Aokiji all expressing clear opposition. How could they still hold back and not say anything? Of course, this is not the point where Bai Ye has achieved unanimous response in Marine headquarters. Rather, what he said happened to be what everyone wanted, and no Marine would allow Shichibukai to exist. Well, with Bai Ye's words, the whole tone of the meeting changed. It is no longer a matter of discussing how to deal with the Knight organization. It became a petition meeting to abolish the Shichibukai system and crusade against the Shichibukai. Bai Ye still had a righteous look on his face, but he was already happy in his heart. The scene before him was exactly what he expected, and those words were specially chosen at this time. Still want to hold a meeting on how to solve my problem? Stop dreaming, Lousy has to ruin this meeting. Warring States looked at the messy conference room in front of him and couldn't help but let out a long sigh. It can be seen that the entire Marine is very dissatisfied with Shichibukai and has been grudges for a long time. In fact, even Warring States himself was dissatisfied with this system. But this is enforced by the world government. Although they, Marine, expressed their dissatisfaction at the time. But the world government doesn't care about their opinions at all. Just do whatever you want, there is nothing you can do about it during the Warring States period. Now, Bai Ye's old story has been brought up again, rekindling the dissatisfaction among Marine executives. If the pressure continues like last time, the top management of Marine will probably be divided. More seriously, there may be defections. Especially the guy who made this proposal, Warring States set his sights on Bai Ye. Seeing that this meeting basically couldn't be held, Warring States had no choice but to announce the dissolution of the meeting. Let these guys go out and discuss how to abolish the Shichibukai system. Saying it in front of him still made him upset. But when everyone left, Warring States left Bai Ye behind. I also knew that Sengoku wanted to discuss the abolition of the Shichibukai system with Byakuya. After all, this matter involves too much. After everyone dispersed, Warring States asked Bai Ye to sit in front of him, looked into Bai Ye's eyes and asked. Tell me honestly, does the Knight organization have anything to do with you? Bai Ye was shocked in his heart, but his expression did not show any flaws. Instead, he frowned and said dissatisfied, "It doesn't matter, you doubt me." Warring States sighed and said seriously, "I also hope it has nothing to do with you, but your behavior today is too abnormal. You clearly know that the main content of this meeting is to discuss how to deal with the Knight organization. But you also took the initiative to bring up the abolition of the Shichibukai system, which will arouse strong reactions from everyone. Moreover, the two operations of the Knight organization occurred during your vacation, and you had never heard of it before. The most important thing is that according to the information I learned, someone can prove that you happened to have a conflict with 03 in the first dock of the Seven Waters City the day before the Knight organization took action to kill 03. As a result, Ling San died the next day. Do you think I should doubt you? In fact, these things are not closely related, mainly because Warring States has been paying attention to Bai Ye's movements. So after these events occurred, and then linked Bai Ye's abnormal behavior at the meeting, this conclusion was naturally drawn. That's why he asked others to leave the conference room to talk to Bai Ye alone. If not, it's best, just in case he wants Bai Ye to stop in time, just pretend that these things never happened and he doesn't know about it. Listening to Sengoku's tone, Bai Ye probably thought of himself as a member of the Yi organization in Sengoku's heart. There is no way, as what Warring States said, it is indeed easy to make people suspicious. But this is not an unsolvable situation for Bai Ye. Bai Ye smiled and said, "Warring States Fleet Admiral, but these are just your speculations. There is no direct evidence that points to me being a member of the Knight organization." Quote. Warring States sighed, "It is precisely because there is no direct evidence that you can sit and talk to me about these topics. Otherwise, we can only meet again in Impel Down City." Quote. But in fact, these incidents that seem to point the finger at me are just coincidences. Oh, what should I say? Warring States suddenly became interested and wanted to hear how Bai Ye defended himself. In fact, he didn't want to believe it either. If he really wanted to deal with Bai Ye, he could tell the world government directly about the matter. Let the world government send a special spy organization to investigate Bai Ye, and they can always find out something. He would not tell the matter directly in front of Bai Ye and let Bai Ye confess on his own. So he also hopes to be able to convince himself. Byakuya said calmly, "First of all, I want to explain why I proposed the abolition of the Shichibukai system at the meeting. Not just because I saw the crimes Crocodile committed in the kingdom of Alabasta. I just want to deal with Doflamingo reasonably and kill that guy." Hearing Bai Ye mention Doflamingo, Sengguo understood clearly. After all, the last time Bai Ye had a conflict with Doflamingo, he was the one who saved Doflamingo. Calculating it this way, it makes sense for Byakuya to want to abolish the Shichibukai system. "And I will go to the capital of Seven Waters. I told you long ago that I want to build a ship. How could I know that 03 would also go to the Seven Waters capital at that time? At best, this can only be regarded as a coincidence. If he dies the next day, he is unlucky. What does it have to do with me? At that time, I had already sailed to the Marine headquarters, otherwise I would not have been able to come back so quickly. As for the conflict, it is easier to explain. Could it be that just because you, Warring States Fleet Admiral, suspected me today and you were killed the next day, can you be sure that I did it? There is no such reason. Everything must be based on evidence. Without evidence, it is all nonsense." Quote. When Warring States listened to Bai Ye's practical examples, his face turned as dark as the bottom of a pot. "Why don't I just doubt you? Why don't you just curse me to death? Do you understand what it means to respect the elderly and cherish the young?" However, what Bai Ye said did have some truth, which made Warring States less suspicious of Bai Ye a lot. "Okay, what you said makes sense. I hope this matter really has nothing to do with you." Bai Ye pretended to be aggrieved and said, "Of course it has nothing to do with me. Moreover, Warring States Fleet Admiral, you still doubt me. This really makes me sad. It hurt my sincere heart to fight for Marine. Warring States Fleet Admiral, you must make it up to me." Quote. Sengoku to Avenue, "Didn't I already promote you to Marine Lieutenant General?" Bai Ye said angrily, "That's because the contributions I made before have nothing to do with this compensation and cannot be confused." "Really? Well, I will unilaterally cancel your promotion to Marine Lieutenant General. Then as compensation, I will promote you to Marine Headquarters Lieutenant General. Now you should be satisfied." Quote. Damn it, Bai Ye was shocked. How can a person be so shameless? If Sengoku had used this face-to-face the world government, it is estimated that the Shichibukai system would not be implemented. When Warring States saw Bai Ye, looking furious, he said calmly, "Why are you not satisfied with the compensation?" Bai Ye gritted his teeth and said, "Satisfied, I'm so satisfied, thank you Warring States Fleet Admiral." Taking over the Marine Headquarters Lieutenant General's uniform and medal, Bai Ye left the conference room angrily. After seeing Bai Ye slamming the door and leaving, Warring States looked at Bai Ye's leaving figure with a trace of doubt in his eyes. Obviously, Bai Ye's words did not completely dispel his suspicion of Bai Ye. But then a faint smile appeared on his face, no matter what. Regardless of whether Bai Ye is a member of the Yi organization, what Bai Ye said before is very reasonable. The goals of the Knight organization have not affected Marine, and have little to do with him, the Marine Fleet Admiral. If the world government asks at that time, he will say that there is nothing he can do. The world government can't do anything to him. ... After leaving the conference room, Bai Ye's angry face returned to normal instantly. I secretly thought it was dangerous. The Warring States period is truly worthy of being called a wise general. He was actually able to connect these seemingly unrelated things to himself. If it weren't for Bai Ye's quick reaction on the spot, there might actually be a risk of exposure. However, he also did not think that his words had made Warring States Fleet Admiral no longer doubt him. In order to completely clear himself of suspicion, Bai Ye felt that he needed to use his identity as a Yi organization to do something big. Let everyone have a clear understanding of Knight. It would be best for Bai Ye to confront Yi in front of everyone. This prevents anyone from associating themselves with Knight. But something like this requires some careful planning. Don't make it self-defeating by then, it will become a joke. But this trip was not in vain. Looking at the Marine Headquarters Lieutenant General uniform and medal in my hand, Bai Ye checked the system information. Congratulations to host for becoming a Lieutenant General and gaining 10,000 points of world power. World source power. 38,500. Fusion degree 40% 41%, requires world source power. 3,100. According to this rule, his existing world source power is enough to increase the integration degree to 50%. In this case, not only can he extract abilities again, but he can also have half of Saitama's strength. It's just that there's still a long way to go before the integration reaches 100%. But for Bai Ye, it is not at the point where he must be promoted. And his strength is enough to deal with most situations. There is no rush. And due to the deliberate spread of some people, Marine Headquarters Lieutenant General Bai Ye said in a high-level meeting of Marine. The proposal to abolish Shichibukai gradually spread to the sea and became known to everyone. Most of the participating countries support this and hope that the world government will abolish the Shichibukai system. But the world government is not happy. Sengoku immediately ordered Marine Lieutenant General Bai Ye to be dealt with seriously, saying that he did not want to hear similar words from Marine senior generals in the future. Later, in order to enhance the confidence of the joining countries, world government proved to the sea that Shichibukai can coexist peacefully with the participating countries. And take Doflamingo, one of the Shichibukai, and the Kingdom of Dressrosa as examples. The Kingdom of Dressrosa is a tropical island with a resort style. It is not famous on the sea. However, under the effective control of Doflamingo, the Kingdom of Dressrosa is known as the Land of Love, Passion and Toys. The name of the Kingdom of Dressrosa is known throughout the sea. All citizens support Doflamingo immensely and call him a wise leader. When Bai Ye saw the example given by world government, he almost stopped laughing. It's not good to use anyone as an example. You have to use Doflamingo as an example. Yes, the Kingdom of Dressrosa does look very good on the surface. All thanks to Doflamingo. It is precisely because he led the Don Quixote family to the Kingdom of Dressrosa that the current changes have occurred. However, the example of world government is indeed a good example for the participating countries. I think the Shichibukai are not all evil. And you can also get a lot of world source power. After hesitating for a moment, Doflamingo picked up the phone and made a call. Byakuya's proposal to abolish the Shichibukai system was the last straw that broke the donkey back. We can't do this. Hearing the other party's rejection, Doflamingo said anxiously, isn't Marine just a dog under your command? You just killed one of the Marine lieutenant generals, can they still rebel? Not only for Torbal, but also for his own plan, Bai Ye must die. Bai Ye suddenly had an idea in his mind, which might be able to completely eliminate his suspicion. Many people are confused by the peaceful coexistence between Doflamingo and the Kingdom of Dressrosa. There was a sense of arrogance in his tone, and he seemed to disdain having too many conversations with people like Doflamingo. According to reliable information, Bai Ye's teacher is Zepha, the former Marine general and current Marine chief instructor. He shares the same love as father and son. Kingdom of Dressrosa. But in fact, the methods Doflamingo used secretly were even more vicious than crocodiles. Doflamingo said with a fierce look in his eyes, Lieutenant General of Marine Headquarters, Byakuya. Not long after, an older voice came from the phone. The voice on the other end of the phone pondered a little and explained, you don't understand. If you mean other Marine lieutenant generals, maybe it's possible, but Bai Ye can't. Tell me, what else happened? In other words, Doflamingo hid it well, and almost no one except the Don Quixote family knew the inside story of the Kingdom of Dressrosa. I need to let someone die. If Doflamingo comes to light, wouldn't the world government's face be slapped in the face? The wave of abolishment of the Shichibukai system gradually subsided. Moreover, he is also the distant nephew of Marine Fleet Admiral Sengoku, and has a close relationship with Marine Admiral Aokiji. Why do you think you would do this to him? Why? Wouldn't Marine be in chaos if we do this? The voice on the phone became urgent, are you kidding? Doflamingo looked at the golden phone bug in front of him, his hand hanging over the phone bug, his expression very solemn, as if he was wondering whether he really wanted to make this call. If we say that White Knight's killing of Torbal made Doflamingo have the intention to kill him, Seeing the other party's firm attitude, Doflamingo hesitated and said, "Then let me change my request." Doflamingo was silent. He really didn't expect Bai Ye's background to be so profound. Doflamingo firmly decided to kill Byakuya. "You asked us to execute a Marine Lieutenant General without reason. Have you considered the impact of this?" Chapter 123 Feet Pluton, Rayleigh. Advertise here. Seeing that Doflamingo was willing to change the conditions, the person on the other end of the phone breathed a sigh of relief. "As long as the conditions are not as impossible as before, I can agree to it. However, you have to understand that this is your last chance. Once I fulfill your request, if you try to blackmail us with the secret treasure in the future, it will only make you die faster and will not do you any good." Doflamingo said solemnly, "I understand." Because he knew about the secret treasure of the celestial dragons. So he made an agreement with the celestial dragons. As long as the Tianlong people agree to his 3 requests, then he will never tell the secret treasures of the Tianlong people even if he dies. From the time he founded the Don Quixote family and became a pirate until now, only 2 chances were used in total. The first time was when he learned that Shichibukai was to be established, and he led his men to snatch the heavenly gold handed over by the joining countries. And used this to blackmail the world government and make him a Shichibukai. At the same time, he called Tenryudo and asked to become a Shichibukai. It was precisely because of the Tenryu people's request that the world government agreed to allow Doflamingo to become one of the Shichibukai. Otherwise, if ordinary pirates were trying to steal the gold from the sky, the world government would have sent Marine to eliminate them long ago. How can I negotiate terms with him? As for this second chance, I have to thank Bai Ye. Doflamingo without knowing it, inexplicably, he was blamed for kidnapping the celestial dragons to make a deal with the beast pirates, and also got involved with 2 high-ranking officials. Moreover, this matter was considered by the Tianlong people as conclusive evidence. No matter Doflamingo's various explanations, he can't clear his suspicion. So I had to use my second chance to let the Tianlong people stop pursuing it. And now is the third and final time. Originally, Doflamingo wanted to use this last chance to save his life when he failed. But now it seems that if we don't deal with Bai Ye now, I'm afraid that when Bai Ye attacks him, he won't have the chance to use it. Thinking again about the backup plan I had laid down many years ago. Perhaps now is the best time to enable it. I hope you can transfer Marine Lieutenant General Bai Ye to the G5 Marine branch in New World. I have just one condition. If you still can't agree, then we have nothing to talk about, and I will keep this last chance. Quote. This time Doflamingo's attitude was very firm. It seemed that as long as the person on the other end said the word, no, he would immediately hang up the phone. The person on the other end of the phone pondered for a moment and moved a Marine Lieutenant General to his station. This is not a difficult thing for him. But it can be easily guessed from Doflamingo's words. He must have some means left in the Marine G5 branch. Able to kill Lieutenant General Marine. But this has nothing to do with him. Even if the Marine Lieutenant General named Bai Ye really died in the Marine G5 branch, that must be an issue within Marine and Doflamingo. It has nothing to do with him. Okay, I agree to your request. But you also have to remember, this is your last chance. If there is a next time, you will appear in the slave farm of the celestial dragons. I think you should understand the consequences of that. Quote. After saying that, the phone was hung up directly. Doflamingo looked at the exhausted golden phone bug in front of him, thought for a long time, punched it into a pulp, and said with a ferocious expression. After I kill Bai Ye, my plan will be implemented smoothly. It's not certain who will become a slave by then. Bai Ye, just wait to die. I have to say that the Tianlong people are very efficient in doing things. They did not contact Marine Fleet Admiral Warring States. Instead, he contacted the Commander-in-Chief of the Navy, Army and Air Force, Cyborg, Kong, through 5 elders. Let Sora give this order to Sengoku. When Warring States received this order, he was confused. Generally speaking, personnel transfers like this in Marine are decided by him. But Sora will not care about these things. But this time it was far beyond the Warring States period's expectations. Moreover, the person involved was also Bai Ye, whom he had been paying attention to, which made him doubtful. Strange as it is, the orders given by above must still be obeyed. So Warring States still called Bai Ye. Bai Ye, pack your things and prepare to go to the New World Marine G5 branch to take up the position of base director. G5 branch. Bai Ye had a vague image of the G5 branch in his mind, and asked curiously. I'm doing a good job in the Sabayati Islands, why do you have to transfer me to the G5 branch? This question also puzzled Sengoku, but when he asked Sora, Sora just said, obey the order, and hung up the phone. Warring States was a little embarrassed and said, I'm not very clear about this either. Bai Ye became even more curious now, are you a Marine Fleet Admiral and you don't even know your own orders? This is not my order, it is an order from above. I have asked, but they did not give me a reply. Tisk, tisk, look at what you, Marine Fleet Admiral, are doing. They don't even reply to you when I ask you a question. Listening to Bai Ye's contemptuous words, several black lines suddenly appeared on Zhongguo's forehead, and he roared. There's so much nonsense, just obey the orders. Although Bai Ye didn't understand why he was transferred there. But it doesn't seem to be a bad thing in the past. After all, in the new world, he can get closer to the four emperors. And this way he is closer to his next target, Doflamingo. But the Sabayati Islands have become very orderly under his management, bringing him hundreds of millions of belly in extra income every month. It would be a shame to just throw it away. Sengoku Fleet Admiral, you think otherwise, I will go to the Marine G5 branch and become the base commander. The position of Supreme Commander of the Marine Garrison in the Sabayati Islands was given to Smoker. Quote. Smoker's military rank is Major General of Marine Headquarters, and he is stationed in the Sabayati Islands. It just filled the vacancy left by Bai Ye. Warring states did not object. After all, he had seen what Bai Ye did on the Sabayati Islands. If Bai Ye is transferred away like this and someone else comes to pick peaches, it will easily make Bai Ye feel dissatisfied. Yes, you can go to New World to take up your post now. The atmosphere in the G5 branch is not very good. I will send you a fax. It records the detailed information of everyone in the G5 branch. You can take a look while on the road so that you can feel prepared. I hope you can reverse the unhealthy trend of the G5 branch. Quote. After saying that, Seng Guo hung up the phone. At the same time, the phone bug made a blah, blah, blah sound. A thick stack of paper was spit out from the phone bug's mouth, which contained the detailed information of everyone in the G5 branch. Bai Ye picked up the first one and took a look at it. The slightly familiar face instantly reminded him of the content in the anime. Virgo, Major General of Marine Headquarters, current manager of Marine G5 branch base. Isn't this the spy Doflamingo arranged inside Marine? I said, why should I be transferred to the G5 branch? It took me a long time, maybe this was arranged by Doflamingo. Although the ordinary Shichibukai did not have the power to mobilize Vice Admiral Marine. But for Doflamingo, Bai Ye believed that he still had a way to do it. This thing is getting more and more fun. Byakuya wants to kill Doflamingo. And Doflamingo also used tricks to kill Bai Ye. Now everyone just depends on their own abilities. If you want to go to the New World, there are only two ways. The first way is to enter the New World through the Red Earth continent. It's just that we'll pass Marigio on the way. There will be marine inspections at various checkpoints along the way. Of course, as a Lieutenant General of Byakuya Marine Headquarters, as long as he does not enter Marigioya, he naturally does not need to pass any inspection. But Bai Ye wanted to choose the second method that only pirates would choose. This method requires coating the hull first so that the hull can dive into the sea and enter the Fishman Island. Then enter the New World through Fishman Island. The reason why Bai Ye chose this method. Because when he was about to leave the Sabayati Islands, there is another legendary figure whom I have never met. It would be a pity if he really left like this. Must see. When Bai Ye went there, he didn't go alone, but took Smoker with him. After all, the Sabayati Islands will be handed over to Smoker in the future. He must first know what kind of characters exist on this island. After all, Smoker's current strength is still too weak for big shots. The two of them didn't shy away from anything along the way, both wearing military uniforms. Byakuya looks even more handsome in the Marine Headquarters Lieutenant General's military uniform, and he adds a bit of maturity out of thin air. In addition, the cloak of justice behind him fluttered with his footsteps, not to mention how cool he was. When the two of them walked on the road, they were afraid of each other and disgusted by dogs. Everywhere I went, there was no one. But Bai Ye doesn't care about this is the effect he wants. Smoker looked at the proud Bai Ye with a headache. What kind of illness did this old man have today? You have to let yourself come out in military uniform. He still remembered that the Tianlong people were attacked after they came out like this last time. Hopefully this time it will be peaceful. Unfortunately, Smoker's wish was doomed to fail. The two came to island number 13 and came to a bar. Smoker looked at the sign and subconsciously said, "Rip-off bar." The name is too straightforward. Bai Ye breathed a sigh of relief and said with a bit of solemnity. We're finally here, let's go in and take a look. Ah, go in. Yes, I want to see if the owner of this store dares to rip us off. Smoker didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He came out and walked for a long time. It turned out that it was just for this trivial matter. Okay, the boss has spoken, how can I not go in? The two pushed the door open and entered the bar. There was no one in the bar, and there was no one even at the counter. It looked very deserted. Come to think of it, this store has such a straightforward name, how could anyone be willing to come? It is estimated that only a bored and idle person like Bai Ye would be willing to come in and take a look. Bai Ye came to the bar and shouted, "Is there anyone there?" "There is a guest." As soon as he finished speaking, he heard a somewhat surprised woman's voice coming from the house behind. "Whatever the customers need, I have it all in this store." A short-haired woman who looked to be in her 40s walked out with a smile on her face. However, when she saw the marine uniforms worn by Bai Ye and Smoker, her expression changed slightly, but she soon returned to normal, smiling and saying, "It turns out to be two marine samas." The short-haired woman skillfully took out two glasses, filled them with wine and placed them in front of Bai Ye and Smoker. "I have always been doing business according to the rules these days. I wonder what the two master marines want from me. Bai Ye smiled and said, I want to go to New World via Fishman Island, so I want to ask the boss lady to coat my boat. The short-haired woman covered her mouth and smiled, if you want coating, you came to me in the wrong place. This is a bar. I only serve food and drinks, and I am not responsible for coating. But your man is a coater. Bai Ye put down the wine glass in his hand and said, can you tell me where your man is now? Shaky. The smile on Shaki's face froze. She didn't expect that the other party actually knew her real name. Moreover, since he pointed out that he was looking for Rayleigh, he probably already knew Rayleigh's identity. The person who came here is not kind. This place must be surrounded by Marines. As soon as Rayleigh appears, there will be a Marine general outside to arrest him. There is even more than one Marine general. After all, what they want to capture is the legendary pirate. Pluton, Rayleigh, the second in command of the Roger Pirates. Even if 3 Marine generals show up together, it's not an exaggeration. Seeing Sha-Chi's nervous look, Bai Ye smiled and said, don't worry, first didn't inform Marine about this news. My coming here is purely a personal matter. Besides, you should have figured out who I am. If I really want to arrest you, do you think you can still stand and talk to me now? A smile broke out on Sha-Chi's face again. Lieutenant General Bai Ye is indeed well deserved, and he actually dared to find that dead ghost alone. It's just that that damn ghost left my place this morning. Now I don't know where to look at the young girl, and I can't figure out where he is. Quote. Really? Then he is really getting stronger with age. Bai Ye said with a smile. Smoker on the side listened to the conversation between the two, and the more he listened, the more confused he became. What kind of coding? Arrest. Private matter. Dead ghost. Do not understand at all. But Smoker understood one of the sentences. The landlady actually said that Bai Ye came alone. What does this mean? Co-authored. Is Lousy not even a human being in your eyes? If Bai Ye hadn't been here, Smoker would have led his people to seal down the store. Shaki pretended not to care and said, I'm just old when I'm old, and I don't have any other thoughts. I just want to find a place to live peacefully until the moment I die of old age. Quote. Bai Ye naturally heard the implication of Shaki's words. The two of them just wanted to stay in the Sabayati Islands for the rest of their lives, and it would not cause any impact. However, it's not up to you whether you will have an impact or not. Bai Ye smiled and said, really? A person who peeks at little girls every day, even if he is older, has the heart of a young man. He's just a heartless old man. From the looks of it, he doesn't know when he will come back. Bai Ye picked up the wine glass and was about to drink it when he suddenly stopped and a faint smile appeared on his face. Look, isn't he coming back now? It seems like he still cares about you. Shaki was silent. She didn't know whether Rayleigh's sudden return was good or bad. If Marine's attention is really caught, the peaceful life that has been maintained for more than 10 years will be broken. I'm afraid their lives will become chaotic again. Smoker couldn't hold back his curiosity and asked, Lieutenant General Bai Ye, who is the Lao Busho you are talking about? Why do you have to ask him for coding? Don't Marine also have coding masters? Bai Ye smiled, because he is the strongest among the coders. The strongest? How strong can the strongest coder be? At most, he is stronger than Dasky. Smoker said indifferently. Then you are wrong. His strength is comparable to General Marine. This time, Smoker was completely shocked. A man as strong as a Marine general works as a coder in the Sabayati Islands. This is outrageous. At this time, the door of the bar was pushed open again, and the two turned around. I saw an old man with white hair standing at the door. Behind him was the golden twilight illuminated by the setting sun. It's like dyeing the old man's silver white hair with a layer of gold, making him look much younger. When Smoker saw the old man's face, he suddenly felt familiar, as if he had seen him before. But it was so long ago that I couldn't remember it at the moment. But when Smoker saw the blonde hair, he was matched with that familiar face. A name that made the whole sea tremble suddenly came to mind. One Piece's right hand, Pluton, Rayleigh. Smoker suddenly became panicked, and his first reaction was to find a way to get out of here alive. Then, notify Marine headquarters and send General Marine to deal with Rayleigh. But just when Smoker was panicking and uneasy, Bai Ye beside him suddenly raised his wine glass and said with a smile. It's time to wait for you, the legend. After hearing Bai Ye's voice, Smoker's originally uneasy heart immediately calmed down. Yes, with Byakuya here, even if the legendary pirate is in front of me. Pluton, Rayleigh, no big deal either. Rayleigh, on the other hand, looked at Bai Ye with some distress and gently held his forehead with his hand. Is the peace of more than 10 years destined to be broken? He was originally looking at young girls outside. Just because Bai Ye and the two were traveling, the streets were deserted, and he didn't even have anyone to look at. Moreover, after learning that Bai Ye was heading towards island number 13, bad thoughts arose in his mind. I felt that Bai Ye's sudden trip was probably to find him. If he can't find himself and takes his anger out on Shaki, it will be over. That's why he was able to come back so quickly. Fortunately, it looks like Shaki is fine. And Bai Ye didn't seem to be looking for trouble. Rayleigh walked over to Bai Ye and sat down, and Shaki poured Rayleigh a glass of wine. Rayleigh lamented, You are no longer useful when you get old. No matter how glorious you were in the past, it is all in the past. Now I'm just an ordinary coding old man. Quote. What do you want to do with me, an old man? Are you just chatting with me? Bai Ye said, I said before, I'm here to code you. Coding. Are you going to Fishman Island? Yeah, I haven't seen the scenery under the sea yet. This time I am going to New World, so I took the road to Fishman Island specifically to enjoy the beautiful scenery under the sea. Shaki asked in surprise, are you going to New World? Bai Ye nodded and joked, what? Do you think that once I leave, the entire Sabayati Islands will be extremely happy? Shaki was amused by Bai Ye's funny words, covered his mouth and said. If they knew that the butcher was gone, they would probably die of joy. The past few days in the Sabayati Islands during the White Night have indeed tortured everyone quite a lot. No matter what you do, you must be careful, for fear of violating the rules set by Bai Ye. Then they are overthinking it. After I leave, Smoker will become the highest garrison officer in the Sabayati Islands, and the rules will not change. Saying that, Bai Ye set his sights on Rayleigh and continued. Because Smoker's strength is too weak, I'm afraid he won't be able to suppress everyone. So, in order to prevent some daring people from breaking the rules, I came here specifically this time, hoping that Pluton could secretly help Smoker at the critical moment. Quote. Smoker's face turned red and he was so ashamed that he wanted to find a crack in the ground and crawl into it. Unexpectedly, because he was too weak, Lord Bai would actually come to a pirate for help. Rayleigh put down her wine glass and said calmly, why should I help? A trace of excited fighting spirit flashed in Bai Ye's eyes, and he said, because if you don't help, you will be killed by me on the spot, or be imprisoned in the dark Impel City. From going out to sea to now, not counting the discussion with teacher Zepha, Bai Ye has never fought against Dahai's top combat power. Especially, the Pluton. Rayleigh in front of me is also the second in command of One Piece Roger, the legendary big pirate. Moreover, in the anime, it was Rayleigh who taught Luffy how to practice bicolor hockey for 2 years. It has a long-lasting impact on Luffy. If you can kill him, you will definitely gain a lot of world source power. Bai Ye came with this purpose this time. You agree, and everything is fine. You can continue your leisurely old life, and you only need to come out and help out occasionally. But if you don't agree, then I'm going to charge a lot of world power. Although, Bai Ye still admires Rayleigh, a cool and powerful old man. However, one code equals one code. If you don't cherish the opportunity I give you, don't blame me for being cruel. Rayleigh seemed to be irritated by Bai Ye's words, her face darkened and she said. Young man, don't think that just because you act recklessly in the Sabayati Islands proves that you are very powerful. Wouldn't you know if it's strong or not? A strong sword intent suddenly burst out from Bai Ye's body, and the wind in his waist kept trembling, as if he was about to fly out of the scabbard in the next second. The wooden tables and chairs, the floor, the walls, and the roof of the entire bar were all slashed by the invisible sword intent, and sawdust flew everywhere. Bai Ye said arrogantly, if you want to take action, come on and let me see how strong one Piece's right hand is. Chapter 124. Full level of swordsmanship, heading to Fishman Island. Advertise here. Rayleigh's face was heavy, and as Bai Ye's extremely strong sword intent came out, he also burst out with fierce sword intent to compete with it. But both of them cleverly limited the scope of their sword intent to the bar. It didn't let others notice the difference here. But the inside of the bar was damaged. Almost all the seats, benches and the like were in a state of disrepair. Shaki looked heartbroken. If he wasn't worried about his identity being exposed, he would be hunted endlessly by Marine. She wanted these two bastards to be beaten out. If this continues, her store can be renovated. Although neither of them made a move, they fought with their sword intent. They can all slightly perceive the strength of the other party. Based solely on his swordsmanship, Rayleigh is slightly superior to Yoruichi. Not much, but there is still a small gap. But there was no joy on Rayleigh's face. Instead, she looked at Bai Ye with a bit of worry. The swordsmanship he had practiced for decades was actually only a little better than the kid in front of him who was less than 20 years old. How can you make Rayleigh happy? Moreover, Rayleigh is already older and does not have the slightest advantage in terms of physical strength or strength. In addition, it is very close to the Marine headquarters. If the two of them really fight, it was impossible to tell the winner for a while. The final situation is likely to be that Marine headquarters noticed the fierce fighting here. A general-level combat force was sent to check. Then, team up with White Knight to defeat Rayleigh and imprison him in Impel Down City. This is all predictable. While Rayleigh was thinking about whether to agree to Bai Ye's offer, Bai Ye felt that she was still lacking compared to Rayleigh in the way of swordsmanship. Without saying a word, he cheated on the spot. Directly spend 5,000 points of world source power to upgrade your swordsmanship to the full level. To have the power of the world is to be willful. Just like the telekinesis used to disguise himself as the knight, it is at full level. Naturally, the kendo used by his true form must be at full level. This way the two will match. It is also easier for Bai Ye to disguise his true identity. Just when Rayleigh was wondering, the sword intent erupting from Bai Ye suddenly changed qualitatively. The power of the sword increased, and its power increased several times compared to before. The dilapidated tables, chairs and benches seemed to have been penetrated by countless sword energies in an instant. It broke into tiny wood chips out of thin air and fell from the sky. The scene is really beautiful. It's a pity that no one present has the intention to appreciate this beautiful scenery. After Bai Ye upgraded his kendo to the full level, Rayleigh suddenly felt the pressure increase greatly. With a little shock in his eyes and palpitations, he said, Is this a big breakthrough in the way of swordsmanship? It's so easy to break through. Isn't there any reason for this? Rayleigh looked at Bai Ye's young face again and was so angry that she almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. Why should this brat take advantage of all the good things? No wonder he is so crazy. If Laozi was as young as him. With such strength, Laozi is even crazier than him. Moreover, Rayleigh even felt that as the confrontation between swords continued, Bai Ye's control over the sword is increasing at an extremely fast rate. If we say that before, Bai Ye's sword intent filled the space inside the bar like a vast ocean. So, now it is under Bai Ye's control to condense the scattered power into one point. Just like the sea tower stone formed by condensing the essence of the sea. This is a qualitative leap on the basis of a quantitative breakthrough. At the moment when Bai Ye was about to draw his sword, Rayleigh suddenly withdrew his sword intention, became furious and cursed. This is a spanking. If I don't want to be spanked, Laozi just agrees. Forehead. Bai Ye's right hand that was placed on Feng Ming froze. After reaching the full level of swordsmanship, Bai Ye felt that his understanding of swordsmanship had improved to more than one level. I am becoming more and more proficient in using it, and I am just about to practice using Rayleigh to test my new insights. Rayleigh suddenly gave up and stopped fighting. This was really beyond Bai Ye's expectation. But the reason I came here this time was to scare Rayleigh and ask Rayleigh to help Smoker solve some bad troubles. Now Rayleigh has agreed to his request. If he forcefully attacks Rayleigh, it would go against what he said before. As the most trustworthy person, Bai Ye naturally cannot take action again. This made Bai Ye extremely depressed. Damn it, if he had known it earlier, he would have fought first and then talked about it. However, Bai Ye thought of an idea, deliberately held his head high and said arrogantly. You are One Piece Roger's right hand, the legendary big pirate. The top strong man on the sea, facing an 18-year-old brat like me, wouldn't he even dare to take action? Rayleigh glanced at Bai Yeruchi angrily. How could he not understand Bai Ye's thoughts? Don't you just want to stimulate yourself to take the initiative? Dream. You want me to take action, but I won't. Hey, I'm just playing. Seeing Bai Ye's suppressed and panicked look, Rayleigh suddenly felt a lot more relaxed. No matter how talented you are, no matter how strong you are, no matter how young you are, you still can't take action against me now. If anyone knew about the legendary pirate, Pluton. Now, because he agreed to the coercion of others, others did not dare to take action against him, and he looked complacent. I don't know if it would be said that Rayleigh completely embarrassed Roger, One Piece. It is true that the most humble person is invincible. Rayleigh even acted like he wouldn't do anything to me even if he beat me to death, and there was nothing you could do to me. Bai Ye really had no choice. Bai Ye had no choice but to say, okay, you can take care of your old age here. If something happens here, you can just help me a little bit. From now on, I promise to let you enjoy your old age and die peacefully. Quote. Listen, is this what people say? Rayleigh's face turned livid, but he remained calm and did not take action. Although what Bai Ye said did not sound good, it was Rayleigh's truest thought. By the way, I will send someone to bring the boat over tomorrow. Remember to plate it well. After achieving his goal, Bai Ye took Smoker and prepared to leave. When Shaki saw Bai Ye was about to leave, he asked anxiously. Because you two took action and destroyed all the seats and benches in my bar. Now, how can I open this store? Byakuya didn't even bother Kaido. Simple, if we don't collect taxes from your store for the past 2 years, we will treat it as compensation for the loss of tables and chairs. Still want to ask me for money? What a dream. After the two went out, Shaki said angrily, this kid is really a bastard. He doesn't even want to give me a penny. Okay, if you don't pay taxes for 2 years, the money you save is not worth much more than these tables and chairs. That's true. The tax rate set by this brat is still too high. He has such a dark heart. However, Shaki suddenly became happy again and said thankfully, damn it, luckily you were able to keep your composure just now and didn't take any action. Otherwise, if you two fight, General Marine will definitely be attracted. In that case, we will have to wander on the sea for a while before we can live as stable a life as we do now. Quote. Rayleigh shook his head and said, I guess the battle will be over without waiting for General Marine. Shaki said in surprise, no way, that kid's strength shouldn't be that weak, right? Can't even last half an hour. I mean, I probably wouldn't last half an hour in that brat's hands. Old is old after all, if I were 10 or 20 years younger, I wouldn't be angry with the kid. Rayleigh said with a sigh on his face. Shaki was stunned, how is that possible? You said you can't beat that kid. Oh, I can't help it. How come today's young people are so perverted and stronger than those monsters? Rayleigh said with emotion, this era belongs to young people after all. However, Bai Ye's coming this time may not be a bad thing. With his words, we may really be able to spend our remaining years in the Sabayati Islands. Rayleigh turned to look at Shaki's unbelievable look, and couldn't help but smile. Don't think so much. He didn't take action against us just now, and he basically won't take action against us in the future. Since he won't take action against us, then what's the point of trying to force him against us? Let's go. I have to get up early tomorrow morning to coat that boy's boat. Shaki wondered, but the genius has just darkened, isn't it too early to go to bed now? It will be too early if you don't warm up the quilt. With a lewd smile on her face, Rayleigh pulled Shaki, who looked helpless, into the room. When Smoker and Bai Ye walked out of the rip-off bar, their legs were weak. Usually, when facing other pirates, he dares to rush in front of them and be the first to make a move. However, this was the first time he encountered the legendary pirate. Moreover, such a big shot has actually lived in the place of management for such a long time. Anyone who thinks about this will feel scared for a while. If he offends the other party someday, he may not even know how he died. Smoker swallowed a mouthful of spit and said with palpitations, Lieutenant Admiral Bai Ye, do we really not report this news? That is, Pluton, Rayleigh, the vice captain of the Roger Pirates. Bai Ye smiled and said, what's there to report? He won't cause trouble, so he takes the initiative to attack you. And it can also help you deal with some troubles that you can't deal with. Wouldn't it be nice to have such a strong thug for free? Come on, besides Roger, you are the first person who dares to use Pluton as a free agent. Seeing that Smoker still looked worried, Bai Ye did not continue to explain. Don't worry, nothing will happen. After hearing what Bai Ye said, Smoker naturally wouldn't say anything more. 3 days later, Bai Ye looked at the GG wrapped in a layer of bubble wrap in front of him. Under the sunlight, the bubbles show colorful colors, as if a rainbow is engraved on them, and they look extremely beautiful. Even Bai Ye was attracted by the beauty in front of her, not to mention the two ladies Ain and Dasky. At this moment, fingers as white as green onions carefully pointed at the bubbles, for fear of damaging the bubble wrap, which looked extremely cute. You can just poke it casually. If it's really damaged, professionals will repair it. Ah, thank you, Senior Brother Bai Ye. Thank you Lieutenant General Bai Ye. Ain and Dasky looked at Bai Ye and said sweetly. Bai Ye said, turned his head to Rayleigh and said with a smile, Old man Lei, am I right? Seeing Bai Ye's shameless appearance, Rayleigh wanted to draw out the knife and strike several times hard. It's a pity that such an idea can only be realized in his mind. Rayleigh said fiercely, if it breaks, there will be a repair fee. Ah, it turns out that you still have income from repair fees. It seems that the taxes on your coders can be increased in the future. Bai Ye held his chin in his hand and thought. Depend on. Isn't this guy too cruel? I just charged him for a boat, and he actually wanted to increase the taxes on the coders on the island. If others knew about this, how could Lousy still do business? What will my fellow travelers think of me? Rayleigh stared hard at Bai Ye's heart, as if he could see through the body. It can be seen that Bai Ye's heart is dark. Seeing that the time was almost up, Bai Ye said goodbye to Rayleigh, see you next time, old man Lei. Rayleigh looked at Bai Ye and said seriously, to be honest, with your personality, I won't be surprised if the Four Emperors pirate group attacks you. I think you should be more honest in New World. Quote. Bai Ye narrowed his eyes and smiled, ha ha ha, what you said is really possible. But life has to be exciting to be interesting. After saying that, Bai Ye stepped onto the Jizhou, and the entire ship dived into the sea and disappeared above the sea. Rayleigh looked at the disappearing White Knight and murmured, what a brave little kid. It's just that such a lawless person would actually become a marine. It's really unexpected. Or does he have other ideas? Rayleigh thought about it and suddenly laughed to herself. Who cares? Anyway, I am just a coding engineer in my 60s now, so why do I think so much? Bai Ye went to the Marine G5 branch this time, and in addition to Ain and Dusky, he also brought the big housekeeper, Ferguson, with him. In this case, it will be easier to start work when you arrive at the Marine G5 branch. It is also convenient for fishing during the day. This was the first time for everyone to go to the bottom of the sea, so they were very curious about everything around them. Whether it's the swaying aquatic plants or the giant Poseidon-like creature passing by the boat, it can cause a burst of wonder. Ain looked at the sea water outside, feeling an inexplicable anxiety in his heart, and said with some worry. Senior Brother Bai Ye, this membrane won't be broken, right? Don't worry, this film is very strong. You can't break it even if you poke it hard like this. Bai Ye pressed his fingers on the film to make it bulge a little. At first glance, it looks like there is some kind of safety device on the finger. Ain's anxiety is normal, after all, she is a devil fruit user. If the bubble wrap bursts and seawater pours into the ship, she will be almost defenseless. Dasky on the side heard Ain's worried words, hugged Ain into his arms, patted his chest and said. Don't worry, I will protect you when the time comes. Bai Ye looked at the breasts that were constantly deforming under the slap of Dasky, and couldn't help but swallowed. Good guy, this is how such a big difference is done, right? Fishman Island is located 10,000 meters under the sea. As the ship dives deeper and deeper, the sun cannot shine into the sea. When I dived to 1,000 meters, I could no longer see the sun. Endless darkness swallowed up the GG, and everyone's eyes went dark. When the eyes are blind, the effects of other senses will be magnified several times. The slightest movement will cause everyone to panic. However, Bai Ye was already prepared for this. Ferguson, turn on the lights. Ferguson sighed helplessly, but still followed Bai Ye's order and used the fruit's ability. A bright light suddenly erupted between the index fingers, illuminating the entire bubble film as if it were daylight. If you look closer, you can even see the huge heat energy released from the tips of Ferguson's fingers. The air was scorching and rolling. Bai Ye looked at Ferguson with some surprise. He didn't expect that besides taking care of things in the Sabayati Islands, Ferguson had not fallen behind in his cultivation, and his strength had improved significantly. Moreover, it can be seen that Ferguson is also good at developing fruit abilities. Maybe there will even be a chance to reach the point of fruit awakening in the future. However, if you think about it carefully, this is normal. After all, Ferguson was tied for second place with Quick in their elite training camp. The elite of the marine elites are selected from the entire sea, and their talents are naturally not weak. Under Ferguson's careful control, the light was only maintained within a fixed range. Avoid being too bright and causing Poseidon attacks in the deep sea. With the huge size of Poseidon, the bubble wrap will be broken by just touching it. In that case, they would face a narrow escape. In fact, for Bai Ye, Ferguson's caution was somewhat redundant. If there were a Poseidon attack, with Byakuya's strength, finger gun and arm domineering, he could be killed in one blow. As many as come will die, no need to worry at all. An invisible energy penetrated from the bubble film and directly shattered the head of a Poseidon-like creature several hundred meters long in the distance. The Poseidon-like corpse disappeared into the endless darkness, as if it had never appeared. As for Bai Ye's actions, no one on the ship noticed at all. Even when they were about to arrive at Fishman Island, everyone was still lamenting how lucky they were along the way, as they didn't even encounter a single Poseidon. Soon, everyone's attention was attracted by the beautiful architecture of Fishman Island, which was completely different from the architectural style on the ground. Various colorful buildings like waves are scattered all over the island. And on the tallest building on Fishman Island, the Dragon Palace, a fluttering flag hangs impressively. On the flag is a skull with a slightly elongated face, and two beards that look like crescent moons. This is the symbol of the Whitebeard pirates, which is so powerful that even the marine and world government dare not provoke them. Symbolizing the strongest man in the sea, Edward Newgate. When Fishman Island hangs his flag, it means that the island is guarded by the Whitebeard pirates. Anyone who commits crimes on Fishman Island will be endlessly hunted by the Whitebeard pirates. Since then, the snatching of mermaids on Fishman Island has become less and less common. Only a few slave catchers dare to come to Fishman Island to secretly lure a few ignorant mermaid girls. It can be said that the Whitebeard pirates protected Fishman Island to a great extent. It's funny to say that the protective effect of a pirate group on Fishman Island is greater than the impact of marine. There is no way around this. The biggest buyers of mermaids are the celestial dragons. Marine can only turn a blind eye here, not daring to care at all. When the Jijo docked at the entrance of Fishman Island, it was immediately surrounded by 30 to 40 fishmen holding bone spears and bone forks. A woman with short black hair and a pair of cold blue eyes. As a fortune teller, she can keenly predict what will happen. Facing the Murlocs holding weapons and looking fiercely, Bai Ye couldn't help but frown. Since the death of Princess Otahime, the residents of Fishman Island generally hate the humans on the ground. Then there is no need for this Fishman Island to exist. Do you need me to help you back to your room to rest? The mermaid customers who were enjoying coffee in the cafe saw this and asked nervously. Immediately, Zhuang Ruo said crazily, Kemi, get my crystal ball quickly. It is to change the plot and find a way to obtain a lot of world source power. The skin on his body is slightly pale, his nails are painted with eerie purple, he is wearing a dark purple hooded top, and he is smoking a pipe. Even if Bai Ye wants to kill someone today and massacre the entire Fishman Island. He, armed with weapons, blocked Marine outside the door of Fishman Island, preventing Marine from entering. To be honest, the purpose of his coming to Fishman Island was not only to see the scenery of Fishman Island. Bai Ye showed a cruel smile and said coldly, I'll give you 10 minutes to think about it. If you still don't let us in. The flag of the Marine Dove of Peace hangs on the White Knight's jijiri. This can't help but make Bai Ye feel a little funny, but also feel sad for these fish people. Moreover, because of the Whitebeard pirates, their tolerance for pirates is actually much higher than that of Marine. So when Bai Ye and others entered the Fishman Island, they were targeted by the fishmen. At the same time, in Mermaid Street and Mermaid Cafe. If you don't leave, don't blame us for attacking you. Suddenly I felt a sharp pain in my heart, as if my heart had been scratched to pieces, it was so painful. The anger of the weak is just a joke to the strong. Pirates and Marines are mortal enemies. Are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere? They will deliver the news of Marine's arrival to King Neptune of the Dragon Palace Kingdom. Xiarli covered her heart. Her already pale skin was now even more bloodless, and she even looked a little scary. She kept muttering, this is a sign that something big has happened, otherwise it wouldn't be like this. Mrs. Xiarli, what's wrong with you? Moreover, because the flag hanging on Fishman Island is the flag of the Whitebeard pirates, it does not belong to the participating countries. It was only the Whitebeard pirates who were offended, and it had no impact on his identity as a marine. The pain lasted for a while and then gradually subsided. Don't they know how to keep a low profile even when they don't have enough strength? Therefore, Bai Ye doesn't have to worry about any consequences at all. Ah, the pipe in the woman's hand fell to the ground, and she let out a shrill scream. But now, he was surrounded by dozens of fishmen, and he couldn't even enter the gate of Fishman Island. The strong Murloc leader said sternly, "Marine is not welcome here. Please leave." Chapter 125 Jinbei, Ace and Marco. Advertise here. A faint purple appeared around Xiarli's pale hands. Keep circling around the crystal-clear crystal ball in front of you. At the same time, a clear picture gradually appeared on the originally transparent crystal ball. These pictures are like a slideshow, flashing one after another. I can only see the scene at that time, but I don't know the relationship between it and the situation. In the first picture, a ship with a marine flag was parked at the entrance of Fishman Island, surrounded by 30 or 40 fishmen holding weapons. In the second picture, a young man wearing a marine uniform drew his sword. Slashing out a sword energy like a waning moon towards the Fishman Island, the huge sword energy split the entire Fishman Island into two. The buildings on Fishman Island were in ruins, and the residents living there were killed and injured numerous times. The entire Fishman Island is like a purgatory on Earth. In the third scene, the young man with the sword suddenly turned to look at him. His eyes were like two sharp slashes, which stung Xiarli's eyes and subconsciously closed his eyes. The crystal ball seemed unable to withstand the sharp gaze and exploded directly into a pile of fragments. Although the surrounding guests could not see anything from the crystal ball. However, judging from Xiarli's loss of control and tears and the sudden explosion of the crystal ball, I'm afraid Mrs. Xiarli predicted something terrible was about to happen. The atmosphere suddenly became tense, everyone looked at each other with fear in their hearts. Xiarli's eyes took a while to recover, but she did not tell the other guests the news. Because she knew that if this matter was publicized, it would cause a panic in Fishman Island. By then, the situation may become even worse. So, Xiarli wrote down what he predicted on a piece of paper. Let Kemi take the note and go to King Punatan immediately. He quickly went to the predicted first scene, the entrance to Fishman Island, and he had to prevent this from happening. At the gate of Fishman Island, Bai Ye suddenly felt like someone was prying into his privacy. This feeling appeared out of thin air, and the source could not be traced at all. Bai Ye frowned and looked around, then activated his domineering aura. When Jian Wense Ba Chi noticed something different in the air, Bai Ye looked at it with cold eyes. This feeling stopped suddenly, as if it had never happened before. Bai Ye instantly realized that there seemed to be a Murloc on the Fishman Island, Xiarli. Moreover, this Xiarli is also Aaron's sister. The feeling just now should be caused by Xiarli performing divination. However, divination is about predicting what may happen in the future. His own knowledge, color, and domineering energy can actually sense this kind of fluctuation that predicts the future. Does this mean that if your level of domineering power continues to increase, it will become like Katakori's hockey of seeing and hearing, achieving the effect of predicting the future? With the stalemate between the guards at the door and Bai Ye and others, more and more fishmen came out to watch. Like the guards at the door, they also have a dislike for people coming from land, especially Bai Ye's identity as marine. They all yelled at the door of the island, "You hateful guys, get out of Fishman Island immediately, you are not welcome here." Captain Vito, instead of continuing the stalemate like this, why not attack them directly and kill them all? Yes, in all these years, I have never seen Marine come to Fishman Island. I really don't know what it's like to kill a Marine. I think it's definitely more exciting than killing a pirate. Quote. The Captain Vito they call is the strong fish man who leads them. Vito listened to the murmurs of the Murlocs surrounding him and said dissatisfiedly, "You guys should be careful when you speak, don't cause trouble for Boss Jinbei. It's not a big deal to stop Marine outside Fishman Island. But if he takes the initiative to kill Marine, the nature of the matter will change. Moreover, Jinbei's current identity is still recognized by the world government as Shichibukai, which plays a significant role in protecting Fishman Island." Bai Ye didn't take the fishman's curses to heart. In his opinion, there is no need to care about these dying people. Instead, he began to plan how much world source power he could get from Fishman Island. This is more important to him. If he remembered correctly, the plot that can be changed here is the new Fishman pirates. And the crazy licking dog that has been bothering Princess Shirahoshi, the target fruit power user Vander Decken Ix. Moreover, there seems to be a piece of historical text in the forest of the sea where Joyboy used to apologize. It is estimated that if added together, there may be 10,000 points of world source power, which is not a small gain. Bai Ye calculated the time in his mind and said, "There are still 3 minutes left. If you don't get out of the way, don't blame me for taking action." Those fish people who were already extremely angry towards humans heard Bai Ye's arrogant words, and their anger suddenly surged into their hearts. One by one, they made every move to take action against Bai Ye and others. Vito glanced at Bai Ye dissatisfied, and then looked at the excited fishmen. If they were allowed to attack Marine would definitely kill some people. By that time, things would get serious. Under Vito's order, the door guards who surrounded Bai Ye now became the bodyguards of Bai Ye and others. Don't let those fishmen take action against Marine. Bai Ye looked at Vito unexpectedly. He didn't expect that some of the Murlocs had brains. Just when the scene became noisy, Charlie hurried over and looked at the Marine ship parked at the entrance of Mermaid Island, as well as the young Marine officer. Everything is as shown on the crystal ball. This made Charlie feel nervous, and her worry was palpable. However, the good thing is that nothing has happened yet. Still have a chance. Charlie secretly made up his mind not to let what was predicted happen. Facing the Murlocs in front of him, Charlie scolded them coldly, "Get out of my way, everyone." When the entangled fish people heard that someone dared to scold them, they were about to curse fiercely. As a result, when he turned around and saw that it was Charlie, he immediately fainted and moved aside obediently. As a fortune teller, Charlie has a relatively transcendent status on Fishman Island. Because the things she predicted were basically correct, and all of them would happen 100% of the time. In addition, what these gangsters in Fishman Street admire is people like Aaron. As Charlie is Aaron's sister, they will also have some respect for Charlie. Therefore, when faced with Charlie's scolding, they could only hold their noses and recognize it. Vito was a little surprised by the appearance of the fortune teller Charlie, and couldn't help asking, "Charlie, why are you here?" Charlie said solemnly, "You can't take action against these Marines." Vito never expected that Charlie, the fortune teller on the island, would actually intercede for a group of Marines. But, their identity is Marine. How can we? Halfway through his words, Vito noticed the solemn look on Charlie's face, combined with Charlie's identity. A bad idea suddenly appeared in his mind. Vito asked tremblingly, "What did you predict? Is it related to these Marines?" In order to avoid creating too much panic and causing the fish people to be dissatisfied with Marine, Charlie just nodded without explaining the predicted picture. But this has made Vito realize the seriousness of the situation. At this time, Bai Ye's voice sounded again. "There's only 1 minute left." With that said, Bai Ye ordered the people on the boat to be ready for battle and to take action at any time. This move, in the eyes of the fishmen, was undoubtedly Kai Guguo's provocation. Even with the obstruction of guards and Charlie, some fishmen clamored to kill Bai Ye regardless. Just when the battle was about to break out, another guard came from the Fishman Island. This guard was not a fishman, but a mermaid. The upper body is a human, the lower body is a fish tail, and underneath they are all riding the same sharp-mouthed shark. They are holding a bone trident in their hands. They are well equipped. At first glance, they are brave and capable troops. The leader of this army is the great prince of the Dragon Palace Kingdom on Fishman Island, Shark Mermaid and Shark Star. There is a dot on its forehead, it has shark's fangs and gill slits, it has long blue wavy hair, it has a righteous appearance, its tail has a light-colored round Madara dot, and its weapon is a golden trident. The royal temperament is undoubtedly revealed. Earlier, when Kemi handed the note written by Charlie to King Neptune, it immediately caused panic in the Dragon Palace. Just like those fishmen who respect Charlie, they will not doubt that Charlie's divination is wrong. In order to prevent the situation from happening, Neptune quickly ordered everyone to. The most responsible and calm Shark Star was sent out and told Marine to treat Marine well and not to cause his dissatisfaction. This time it involves the survival of Fishman Island, and they must treat it with caution. In New World, on an unknown island, there were thousands of people having a banquet, and the scene was extremely lively. A tall figure of nearly 7 meters was sitting on a stone chair, holding a wine glass as tall as a person in his hand, drinking happily. There are infusion tubes connected to several medicine bottles on both hands, and there are several scars on the naked upper body, which proves the glory of this man's life. On the side, a man with a pineapple head couldn't help but advise, "Dad, you are still receiving fluids, so you should drink less." "Hoo la la la, this little illness is nothing to me. Marco, you don't have to worry too much. Besides, Ace is getting together with friends today, how can we not have a good drink?" When Marco heard this, he could only sigh helplessly. There was nothing he could do. Dad really wanted to drink, and there was nothing he could do to stop him. As for the man who can be called Daddy by Marco, his identity is naturally self-evident. Whitebeard's eyes were filled with relief as he looked at the lively banquet in front of him. This was what he had been looking forward to in his life. Form a maritime family and feel the affection between each other. For Whitebeard, this kind of life is far more important than becoming one piece. And during the banquet, a young man with black hair and Madara on his cheeks hugged Jinbei in one hand and held a huge barbecue in the other. He said vaguely excitedly, "Jinbei, I didn't expect that we would meet again on the sea. It's not easy." And Jinbei was equally happy. "Yes, since I became Shichibukai, I have a lot of things to do. This time I was just looking for a pirate group to pass by, but I didn't expect to meet you by chance." After Ace finished eating the barbecue in his hand, he licked his lips with unsatisfied content, pulled Jinbei towards Whitebeard, and said, "Dad knew he met you, so he immediately held a banquet on the island. You have to give Dad a glass of wine." Jinbei smiled and said, "Even if you don't tell me, I will take the initiative to visit you. Since Fishman Island hung the flag of the Whitebeard pirates, I don't know how many lives of mermaids and fishmen have been saved." Jinbei is naturally very grateful to Whitebeard. Ace pulled Jinbei to Whitebeard and said respectfully, "Dad, Jinbei is here to toast you." Jinbei also called Whitebeard Dad, raised his glass and said, "Dad, I'm so happy to meet you again on the sea." Kulala, for me, meeting my family on the sea is the most worthy of celebration. Whitebeard admires Jinbei very much. After all, Jinbei did not call him the title, sea hero, himself. It's the reputation Jinbei has accumulated over the years he has been a pirate for the good deeds he has done. While everyone was chatting happily, Jinbei's phone suddenly rang. Jinbei's originally happy expression suddenly turned gloomy. He knew that the phone was ringing. The only thing that could have happened was King Neptune, which meant something had happened on Fishman Island. Moreover, it is definitely a serious matter, otherwise Neptune would not take the initiative to call and inquire. When Jinbei finished answering the phone, his face became extremely ugly. "Kaido. I will rush back immediately. You must wait for me to come back and don't anger each other easily." The change in Jinbei's face naturally caught the eyes of Whitebeard and others. Ace was the first to ask, "Jinbei, did something happen to Fishman Island?" Over the years, the Whitebeard pirates have done enough for Fishman Island, and Jinbei doesn't want Whitebeard to cause trouble in everything. Moreover, the opponent's identity is Lieutenant General Marine. Once it is not handled properly, it will easily lead to a battle between Marine and the Whitebeard pirates. Dad's health has gotten worse and worse over the years, and he can no longer take action easily. So, Jinbei regained his smile and pretended to be relaxed. "It's not a big deal, I can handle it by myself." Then, he turned to Whitebeard and said, "Dad, I'm sorry, I'm going back first this time. By the time of the next banquet, I will be so drunk that I won't return home." Quote. After saying that, Jinbei stood up and prepared to leave. Whitebeard suddenly shouted, "Wait." Jinbei stopped. Whitebeard continued, "Since you call me daddy, you are my son, and your affairs are my affairs. Moreover, it is my flag that hangs on Fishman Island. No matter who causes trouble anywhere, it is a declaration of war against the Whitebeard pirates. So, you don't have to hide anything from me." Quote. Ace pulled Jinbei and said, "Dad is right, what happened? Is there anything I can do to help you?" Marco smiled and said, "We are all a family, there is nothing we can't say. Besides, when did Hexia, Jinbei become a mother-in-law?" Listening to everyone's words, Jinbei was extremely moved. So, Xiarli's prediction was revealed. Jinbei shook his head and said, "I don't know much about this, but Xiarli's prediction is not wrong. So I had to rush back as soon as possible to avoid things happening." Quote. "I never thought that when Jack heard my taunt, instead of taking action, he said that if I met that Major General Marine, I would probably be defeated. Jack would say this, probably because he wants to save some face for himself." Ace and Jinbei got along very well, and he immediately said boldly, "Dad, I will follow Jinbei back to Fishman Island. Even if that Marine Lieutenant General has some skills. And I heard from Jinbei that the Marine Lieutenant General is not weak, and he can just test his training results during this period, and can also help his good brothers overcome difficulties." Whitebeard said in surprise, "What's wrong? With the strength of Ace and Jinbei, there won't be any problems as long as they don't encounter General Marine." At this time, Ace was trained by Whitebeard as the future captain of the Whitebeard pirates for a long time. "This time, I can just go over there. With the strength of the three of us, we can definitely deal with that Bai Ye." Quote. Marco quickly explained, "I'm afraid that Marine Lieutenant General is Byakuya. Facing the two of us, we will never be opponents." Quote. White Knight. "A few days ago, I almost had a fight with Jack because of territorial issues. At that time, I teased him that he would be defeated by Major General Marine. It's just time for Ace to get some exercise, so there's no need for you to do what you did in the past." Quote. However, combining Jack's words with Jinbei's prediction that it will definitely come true. Jinbei glanced at Ace gratefully. With Ace joining, it was indeed a lot safer. When Whitebeard heard this, he realized that Marine who could capture Jack was indeed not weak. Marco shook his head and said, "No, the geographical location of Fishman Island is too special. If you go there, Dad, Marine will definitely do his best to take action." Not long after the two left, Marco nervously said to Whitebeard as if he remembered something. "It's the Major General Marine who captured Jack. I heard he was recently promoted to Lieutenant General Marine. The strength has grown rapidly and is much stronger than before. Then I'll go directly with you. I want to see how strong that Marine Lieutenant General is." I was a little dissatisfied with this at the time, thinking about how powerful a Marine Major General could be. Marco is the smartest among the Whitebeard pirates and can be regarded as a dog-headed strategist. But there's no need to be so nervous, right? Kill two birds with one stone. Whitebeard still believed in Marco's words and immediately realized the seriousness of the matter. "Dad, I also want to go to Fishman Island with Ace. I'm afraid that Vice Admiral Marine is really capable of destroying Fishman Island." Quote. Moreover, didn't Neptune say that the enemy was Lieutenant General Marine? Seeing his father's disapproval, Marco said nervously. Whitebeard didn't stop Ace's behavior, he just told them to be careful and then let them leave. One of the three major signatures of the Beast Pirates, is this the level? Jinbei and Ace can also fight Jack without losing. Hearing this, Whitebeard thought, a Marine Lieutenant General shouldn't be able to destroy Fishman Island, right? Chapter 126. Dharma Rectification on the Spot. Advertise here. On Fishman Island, Vito and Charlie couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief after seeing the arrival of the eldest prince Shark Star. At this critical moment, only the eldest prince with a calm character can handle such a difficult situation. Without saying a word, Shark Star directly ordered his guards to surround the restless Murlocs to avoid further conflicts. Facing the strong and well-equipped mermaid royal guards, the fish people suddenly lost their previous arrogance. The fish man said angrily, "Shark Star, what do you mean? Do you want to go against us for these lowly marines? We are the same kind." Some fishmen sarcastically said, "Stop it, we are from the Fishman tribe, and he is from the Mermaid tribe, so they are not the same kind at all. Shark Star is the eldest prince of the Dragon Palace Kingdom and one of the countries that joins the world government. And we are just a part of the illegal group in Fishman Street. They are no longer the same kind of people. Now they only seek benefits for the mermaids and have no regard for the life or death of us mermaids." Quote. Vito listened to the words of these fishmen and said angrily, "Shut up. If it weren't for King Neptune and Boss Jinbei, how would you have the opportunity to make sarcastic remarks here?" The fish people were dismissive of Vito's statement. In their opinion, the reason why they can live in Fishman Street with peace of mind is the main reason is that lowly humans cannot eliminate the Fishmen tribe under the deep sea. They have no way to breathe or survive underwater. Once those with powerful devil fruit abilities enter the sea, in front of them, the fishmen are like a newborn baby, they can be crushed to death with a single move. The fighting power of the fishmen underwater is several times higher than on land. Therefore, the fishmen are a fully evolved race. In front of the fishmen, human beings are humble and can only be ruled. This is the mainstream thinking of the fish people in Fishman Street, which is almost the same as Aaron's idea. Shark Star didn't pay attention to the gossips of the fish people, but walked straight to Bai Ye. He bent down and said respectfully, "Welcome to Vice Admiral Marine to Fishman Island. I am Shark Star, the eldest prince of Dragon Palace Kingdom." Bai Ye sneered, "My name is Bai Ye, Lieutenant General Marine. I came here just to reach the New World through Fishman Island. I didn't expect that first, a Marine Lieutenant General, could not even enter the gate of Fishman Island. This Fishman Island is so majestic." Listening to the sarcasm in Bai Ye's words, Shark Star could only smile. "I thought to myself, as a Marine Lieutenant General, wouldn't it be better for you to be more honest than Mary Joa? I have to pass through the Fishman Island, and I won't let you pass, and you will destroy the Fishman Island. In the end, it seems like we, Fishman Island, are sorry for you. You say, where can I reason with this?" Of course, he only dared to think about these words in his heart. I dare not say that of course. If the Vice Admiral Marine in front of him really gets angry, the entire Fishman Island may cease to exist. Shark Star smiled apologetically and said, "The guard at the door didn't know Lieutenant General Bai Ye's identity, so he did such a thing. I'm extremely sorry." In order to avoid Bai Ye looking for trouble, Shark Xing continued. "My father learned about Lieutenant General Bai Ye's visit and specially set up a banquet in the palace. He asked me to come out to greet Lieutenant General Bai Ye. Why don't we leave now?" With that said, the royal guards of the Dragon Palace pressed down on the fish people and opened a wide road, allowing Bai Ye and the others to pass. Bai Ye didn't say much and allowed the two tiger sharks sent by Shark Star to pull the extreme day forward. Shark Star and Charlie couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief when Bai Ye didn't take action. When the Murlocs saw that Marine actually entered the Murloc Island and was invited in by the eldest prince, they were furious. But the moment he walked into the gate of Fishman Island, Bai Ye suddenly said coldly, "Ferguson takes action." After hearing Bai Ye's order, Ferguson didn't hesitate at all. He opened his right hand and shot out a dazzling light like a searchlight. Every fish man who was illuminated by the light felt as if he was being placed in a furnace. The water in his body evaporated rapidly, and he screamed in pain. The entire body shriveled up at an extremely fast speed, like a charred dead wood turning pitch black, and finally turned into a ball of burned ashes and disappeared into the air. Ferguson's speed was extremely fast. From the time Bai Ye gave the order to Shark Xing and others reacting, 7 or 8 fishmen have died under his irradiation. Shark Star raised the golden trident in his hand and said angrily, "Lieutenant General Bai Ye, what do you mean?" Bai Ye said lightly, "It's not interesting, I just want to tell them a truth. Don't have a bad mouth if you don't have the strength. Otherwise, when you provoke someone you can't afford to offend, you will have the only way to die." Quote. Ferguson did not kill all the Murlocs, but targeted and killed a dozen of the most scolded Murlocs before stopping. Facing the strange death of their companions, the remaining Murlocs were all shocked and didn't even dare to fart. There is no trace of arrogance like before. However, behind the crowd of fish, there was a fish man who rolled his eyes, seemed to have an idea, and slipped away quietly. Bai Ye looked at the angry Shark Star and said, "Continue to lead the way." Shark Star was suddenly killed by Bai Ye at this time, and the veins on his forehead popped out with anger, and the trident clenched with his fingers made a rattling sound, but he was helpless. It is better to kill a dozen fishmen than to destroy the entire Fishman Island. Moreover, what Bai Ye said was not unreasonable. These words not only explained the reason for killing the fish man, but also secretly warned Shark Star not to do anything. Because in front of Bai Ye, Shark Star is also a person without strength. Seeing this situation, Shark Star could only grit his teeth and say, "Let's go to the Dragon Palace." But this time Shark Star learned wisely, in order to avoid Bai Ye using the fish man insult as an excuse when he strikes again. Order the Dragon Palace royal guards to block the Jijo to death. I was afraid that another blind fish man would come and die. The journey was finally uneventful and we arrived at Dragon Palace City. Dragon Palace City is located on the top floor of Fishman Island where the sun can be seen. It is a large luxurious palace built of large coral reefs, shells, and other building materials, with a giant dragon entrenched there. This is the royal base of Fishman Island. In Ryugu Castle, there is also a giant flounder with a large bubble on its back, which is responsible for carrying foreign visitors. When Bai Ye and the 4 people stepped off the giant flounder, they heard someone shouting, "Welcome Vice Admiral Marine to visit Ryugu Kingdom." As soon as he entered the palace, King Neptune's huge body stood up and entertained Bai Ye very warmly. All the delicious and fun things were brought out. Afraid of neglecting Bai Ye, White Knight did not refuse King Neptune's overtures. As the saying goes, don't hit the smiling person. Moreover, Ryugu Kingdom is still a member country of world government. Bai Ye doesn't even have a reason to take action now. If he takes action forcefully, it won't sound good if word spreads. At this moment, Fishman Street, the gathering place for criminals, seemed to be in chaos. Under the deliberate propaganda of some fishmen, what happened at the gate of Fishman Island has been magically changed. In their words, King Neptune, in order to eliminate all the fishmen on Fishman Street, deliberately asking the world government to send a Marine Lieutenant General to assist him. Because the fishmen on Fishman Street are against peaceful coexistence with humans and hate humans extremely. King Neptune has been promoting peaceful coexistence with humans over the years. He was repeatedly opposed by all the fishmen on Fishman Street. That's why Lieutenant General Marine suddenly visited Fishman Island. These remarks were coupled with the dozen or so fishmen who died at the gate of Fishman Island. And the concealed actions of the Dragon Palace guards led by Shark Star along the way. Immediately, most of the fishmen on Fishman Street believed it to be true, and felt that this was the truth. For a moment, the fish people on Fishman Street were so excited that they all wanted to go directly to the Dragon Palace. But some people are also skeptical about this matter. If you want to wait, let's wait until Boss Jinbei comes back. But such people are so few and far between that they are inconspicuous. On a sunken ship not far from Fishman Street, 9 fishmen gathered together and were plotting everything in full swing. The fishman sitting in the first seat has long black curly hair, a flat hat with a trident pattern on his head, a wolfskin scarf around his neck, and a large area of tattoos on his left arm, including the Evil Dragon Group tattoo. He is the captain of the new Fishman Pirates, Hody Jones, who has a bounty of 190 million belly. This so-called new Fishman Pirate Group was founded by Hody Jones out of his worship of Eren after learning that the Fishman Pirate Group formed by Eren was killed. For Hody Jones, the main purpose of the new Fishman Pirates is to inherit Eren's will and continue to kill lowly humans. Let the fishmen become the masters of the world. And those messages circulating in Fishman Street were after he learned what happened at the gate of Fishman Island. Deliberately distorting facts and then spreading them. The purpose is to arouse the anger of the fishmen against King Neptune. As long as King Neptune is eliminated, there will no longer be any voice of peaceful coexistence with humans on the entire Fishman Island. Now it seems that his plan is being implemented smoothly. Most of the fishmen in Fishman Street are already dissatisfied with King Neptune's actions. He just needs to add more fire to implement the plan in his mind. The leader of the new Fishman Pirates asked, "Boss, when are we going to take action?" Hody Jones said with a sinister smile, "Don't worry, in order to make sure nothing goes wrong, let this matter ferment for a while. Then contact the forces that can be roped in, and when the time comes, we will take action together to kill Neptune and strive to be foolproof." Quote. "Boss, do you mean to contact Vanderdecken X of the Flying Pirates?" "That's right, although this guy is a waste, he is a devil fruit user after all, and he will be able to take effect when the time comes. But what if he doesn't agree? Don't worry, as long as Neptune is successfully killed, Princess Shirahoshi will be his. All you need to say is this, and he will never disagree." Hody Jones knew that Vanderdecken IX's love for Princess Shirahoshi was close to perversion. As long as he can get Princess Shirahoshi, he will do whatever you ask him to do. As the meeting came to an end, Hody Jones stood up and said with some excitement, "Brothers, the time has come to kill Neptune and rule Fishman Island. When that time comes, will our dream of leading the fishmen onto land and killing all humans still be far away?" Hearing the words described by Hody Jones, the eyes of the cadres of the new Uranhai group present glowed with excitement, and their blood boiled. It seems that I have seen the happy life of fishmen ruling humans and treating humans as slaves who wantonly kill. Hody Jones looked at the excitement of his cadres with satisfaction and shouted, "Revenge for Boss Fisher Tiger. Revenge for Brother Eren. Revenge, revenge, revenge." Quote. Under the deliberate guidance of Hody Jones, nearly 90% of the fishmen in Fishman Street believe that King Neptune has teamed up with Lieutenant General Marine to eliminate all the fishmen in Fishman Street. Moreover, Hody Jones also secretly contacted the families of those killed fishmen and asked them to cry on the streets about Marine's crimes. Arouse the sympathy of more fellow fishmen and make more fishmen believe that this rumor is true. Since family members of the victims came forward, those fishmen who were originally hesitant also chose to believe this rumor. Because almost all murlocs are malicious towards humans, the difference is just in degree of difference. When reality is right in front of them, they will subconsciously choose to believe it. Neptune and others didn't know much about everything that happened on Fishman Street. Because all their attention was on Bai Ye, they were afraid of neglecting Bai Ye. Compared with the fact that Fishman Island is about to be destroyed, all other things can be put aside. After they had had enough wine and food, Bai Ye and others also enjoyed the graceful dances of the mermaids and the unique songs of Fishman Island. It can be said that there is nothing wrong with King Neptune's hospitality. Seeing the satisfied smile on Bai Ye's face, Neptune finally felt relieved. Since I am so comfortable being served by this man, I am not going to suddenly go on a killing spree. Neptune asked with a smile on his face, Lieutenant General Bai Ye, you see the banquet is over. I don't know when you are going to leave, so I can arrange for Shark Star to see you off. Quote. For Neptune, he wished that the White Knight could go as fast and as far as possible. Only when Bai Ye truly leaves can these people completely let go of their hanging hearts. Bai Ye half smiled and said, as King Neptune trying to drive me away. As soon as these words came out, Neptune was startled. He waved his hands and said, how is this possible? I just feel that Lieutenant General Bai Ye is in a high position in the Marine Corps and has many affairs, so I'm afraid it will waste your time. Oh, then I really blamed King Neptune wrongly. What you said does make sense. When I get to New World, I still have a lot of things to deal with. Listening to Bai Ye's words, a glimmer of excitement flashed in the eyes of everyone present. There is a feeling of waiting for a long time and finally waiting until today, dreaming for a long time and finally realizing the dream. But before they could be happy for long, Bai Ye continued, however, there are so many things to deal with anyway, there is no difference between a few days earlier and a few days later. It is better to continue to taste the special delicacies of Fishman Island in the palace. After all, it's not easy to visit Fishman Island. Quote. Everyone's excitement suddenly disappeared, and the atmosphere suddenly became a little heavy. Neptune asked with a sad face, if Lieutenant General Bai Ye fails to deal with so many things in time, will it have a bad impact on you? Bai Ye patted her chest and said proudly, King Neptune, you are really thoughtful. You actually think about me like this. But don't worry, my uncle is the Warring States Fleet Admiral, and my teacher is Marine Chief Instructor Zepha. Even if I don't handle it, no one in Marine will dare to do anything to me. Seeing Bai Ye's extremely proud look, everyone almost cried. Good guy, it turns out you are still an official from second generation. The soft ones are not good enough, and the hard ones are not as tough as others. This directly put Neptune and others out of control. What can we do? Just as Neptune was thinking, Bai Ye suddenly stood up, almost frightening the tall Neptune and knocking him off his feet. I thought this official second generation was suddenly going to have a falling out. Bai Ye stretched out and said sleepily, King Neptune, where is the rest room you arranged for us? I'm a little tired now. Neptune complained secretly in his mind, tired. How can you be as tired as me? Besides, you are tired because you are tired, but I am really tired. Quote. Even though Neptune felt extremely unhappy in his heart, he still had a calm smile on his face and said, I have already arranged these for Lieutenant General Bai Ye. Shark Star, please take Lieutenant General Bai Ye and them to rest. But in fact, Neptune and the others were eager to leave immediately after eating in Bai Ye, so how could they arrange a rest room for them? In order to give my subordinates time to clean up a few restrooms that are clean enough. Shark Star had no choice but to take Bai Ye and the other four to visit the Dragon Palace and start working as a tour guide. Walking in the corridor, Bai Ye noticed a tall tower made of hard shells not far away. There are countless marks left by axes on it, and there are even some sharp weapons that have been deeply inserted into the tower, as if they had been there for a while. Byakuya immediately realized that the high tower was the hard shell tower that was Princess Shirahoshi's dormitory and shelter from being hunted. Shark Star noticed where Bai Ye was looking, a trace of sadness appeared in his eyes, and he sighed silently. At the beginning, he promised his dead mother that he would protect his sister's safety. But now, although my sister's safety has been preserved, it is at the cost of losing her freedom. At this moment, a black shadow suddenly flashed across the sky in the distance, and the sound of a sharp weapon cutting through the air could be vaguely heard. When he got closer, he realized that the black shadow was a sharp axe, and the bright axe blade kept flashing in the sun. Judging from the target of this axe, it is the hard shell tower made of shells. When he saw the flying axe, Shark Star said angrily, here we go again, it's not over yet. Swinging his fish tail, waving the golden trident in his hand, he rushed towards the axe. But before Shark Star could touch the axe, a dark blue sword energy swept past him at an extremely fast speed, knocking the axe down in the air and cutting it in half. Shark Star suddenly turned around and saw a slash from a girl wearing glasses next to Bai Ye. Is even that frail-looking girl a swordsman-level warrior? Shark Star was surprised. The person who drew the sword was none other than Dasky. Originally, Ain wanted to take action, but after seeing Dasky's actions, he stopped moving. During this time, under Bai Ye's guidance, both Dasky and Ain have made great progress in their swordsmanship. Because in addition to practicing swordsmanship, Ain also needs to develop fruit abilities. Therefore, the progress in swordsmanship is not as fast as that of Dasky. But with the current strength of the two of them, there is still no problem in dealing with ordinary pirate supernovas. When Shark Star set, Bai Ye said, "Prince Shark Star, aren't you going to explain?" Since everything was seen by Bai Ye and others, and the girl just came to help, Shark Star didn't hide too much and told the whole story. In Shark Star's description, Vandy Decanix is a person with the ability of the target curse, and is actually a person with the ability of the target fruit. It was only because of the deliberate hiding of Vandy Decanix that he became a person with the ability of the target curse. As girls, Dasky and Ain can feel the despair of Princess Shirahoshi when she encounters such a perverted suitor. After hearing that Princess Shirahoshi had been living in a hard-shell tower for 9 years, I can't help but feel sympathy for Princess Shirahoshi. Ain asked cautiously, "Can we go visit Princess Shirahoshi?" This. Shark Star glanced at Bai Ye, hesitant. Of course, he is not interested in Shirahoshi for a long time. But he was afraid that if the innocent Shirahoshi angered Byakuya, it would trigger the disaster predicted by Shiarli. Dasky also echoed, "Don't worry, we will protect Princess Shirahoshi." Shark Star has always felt very sad that Shirahoshi was alone in the hard-shell tower. He knew how much Shirahoshi wanted to hang out. But she was sensible and would never tell her dream, for fear of burdening her brothers. Now, having two girls to chat with, Shirahoshi can feel a little happier, and maybe that's not a bad thing. After Shark Star hesitated for a moment, he nodded and agreed. Under the leadership of Shark Star, everyone walked towards the hard-shell tower. Shark Star reached out and knocked on the door of the hard-shell tower. As soon as there was a sound, the window on the top floor opened a small crack, revealing big and smart eyes. A surprised voice came from it, "Is it Brother Shark Shing?" It can be seen from Shirahoshi's actions how boring Shirahoshi's life is in the hard-shell tower. This kind of life is simply torture for an adolescent girl. When Shark Star opened the gate of opening, what Dasky and Ain saw was a huge light pink fish tail. Looking up from the tail of the fish, you can see the proud figure that makes countless women ashamed, and the extremely delicate white face. After all, Princess Shirahoshi is regarded by the world as a beauty who will not lose even when compared with the Empress. Shirahoshi blinked his clear eyes and looked at the Shark Star and 4 strangers he had never seen before. Bai Ye took a step forward and introduced himself. "Hello, my name is Bai Ye, and first I'm a marine." Maybe it's because Shirahoshi hasn't seen a stranger in a long time. So when he saw Bai Ye and the others, he acted timidly and shrank back involuntarily. Carefully, he stretched out his extremely white jade hand, wanting to shake hands with Bai Ye in a friendly manner. Bai Ye looked at the palm with fingers that were almost bigger than his own, and was speechless. He had to stretch out his hand with some embarrassment and shook Shirahoshi's little finger. It was rare for Dasky and Ain to see Bai Ye looking so embarrassed, so they secretly covered their mouths and laughed non-stop. After holding it, Bai Ye only had one feeling in his mind. So tender, so smooth, I really want to keep holding it. When Shirahoshi saw Ain and Dasky, his emotions were obviously more excited. The 3 girls met each other and within 5 minutes, they were chatting in full swing. Ain and Dasky told Shirahoshi what they experienced on the sea. Shirahoshi was very curious about these, and kept listening attentively, and from time to time he would laugh as sweetly as silver bells. While chatting, Shirahoshi even forgot about his brother Shaxing beside him. Quote. Shark Star looked at Bai Ye with some embarrassment, but he also felt happy for Shirahoshi. The 3 got chatting and Shirahoshi directly invited Ain and Dasky to sleep at her place. Ain and Dasky also readily agreed. Yes, this saves a lot of trouble for Shark Star. Then he left the hard-shell tower with Bai Ye and Ferguson. As the 3 of them walked on the road, Shark Shing thanked Bai Ye sincerely and said, "I haven't seen Shirahoshi looking so happy for a long time, thank you so much." Bai Ye shrugged and said, "You don't need to thank me. If you do, you should thank Ain and Dasky. I didn't live in the hard-shell tower, and I didn't tell stories to Princess Shirahoshi." Quote. Forehead. Shark Star looked at Bai Ye and estimated that based on the size difference between the two, Bai Ye shouldn't be able to hit his sister's attention, right? However, every brother has the potential to become a sister control, even mermaids are no exception. Shark Star decided that he would never give Byakuya a chance to be alone with Shirahoshi in the future. Completely cut off any possibility. However, judging from the contact during this period, Shark Shing did not feel that Bai Ye had a bad personality. You shouldn't do what Shiarli predicted easily, right? In the hard-shell tower, Ain and Dasky were lying on Princess Shirahoshi respectively, experiencing the dream life of countless men. Regarding Shirahoshi's figure, the 2 of them have gone from being ashamed at the beginning to now facing it calmly. This is also easy to understand, just like when you were in school, your goal was dozens of points higher than you, and you still had the motivation to catch up with her. If the opponent is 400 or 500 points higher than you will probably just lie down and let him or her control you. There is no way, this is totally unreasonable. Listening to Ain and Dasky's story, Shirahoshi asked softly, "Lieutenant General Byakuya, is he really that strong? Why do I think he looks so small, but I can crush him to death with just my strength?" Ha ha ha, If senior brother Bai Ye hears this, he will be so angry that he will die. Ain laughed and covered his stomach. Tears of laughter came out. Daski's eyes curved into crescent shapes, revealing shallow dimples, and kindly reminded. You can't say this in front of Lord Bai Ye. He is a petty person. If you laugh at him once, he will definitely come back with revenge in the future. Shirahoshi timidly said, what will he do to me if he finds out? Ai Yin said with ill intentions, senior brother Bai Ye is an LSP. You are so good looking. He shouldn't do anything to you. At most, he will punish you on the spot. As he spoke, Ain moved his hands over Shirahoshi's body, feeling the wonderful touch and reluctant to let go. Shirahoshi felt itchy when being touched by Ain, and 2 blushes gradually appeared on his fair cheeks. He asked very simply, what does it mean to do the Dharma on the spot? You don't even know how to do Dharma on the spot. Seeing how simple Shirahoshi was, Ain became even more excited and wanted to tell Shirahoshi right away. Dasichi, who was on the side, looked at the excited Ain and felt her head grow bigger. He also said that Lord Bai Ye is an LSP. You look like a real LSP to me. In order to prevent Ain from leading the innocent Shirahoshi into evil, Dasichi quickly stopped Ain and changed the topic. For Ain and Daski, after meeting Bai Ye, both their lives have undergone earth-shaking changes. Therefore, most of the topics they talked about throughout the night were related to Bai Ye. It's also good to go out for a walk. Ain and Dusky asked Neptune, let Shirahoshi go out for a walk. The 2 of us will protect Shirahoshi. But visiting Fish Man Island is not that simple. Thank you, father. I want you to be careful about Bai Ye. According to the descriptions of the 2, the image of Byakuya gradually emerged in Shirahoshi's mind. When Shirahoshi heard that he could finally go out to play, he was so excited that he almost cried. A variety of similar or opposite personalities all combined in one person. Neptune hesitated. White Knight. A faint mist appeared on a pair of big eyes. In this way, the 4 of them spent a peaceful few days in the Dragon Palace. With that said, Shirahoshi swung his fish tail and went back to the hard shell tower to pack his things. This, and all the expenses in the Dragon Palace were borne by Neptune. For the sake of safety, let Shark Xing bring the palace guards with you. This way, I can feel more at ease. Ain and Daski have obtained Lieutenant General Bai Ye's consent. Father, will you just agree to it? Lustful, petty, cold, stingy, greedy for money, strong, defensive, generous, humorous, knows how to care about the people around him, etc. It takes just a few minutes to do it. Wouldn't it be a loss if we didn't play for a few more days? Neptune didn't want to agree, but looking at Shirahoshi's pitiful appearance, he felt a little soft-hearted. Speaking of which, Shirahoshi has not stepped out of the hard shell tower for more than 9 years. Neptune stroked Shirahoshi's long pink hair lovingly and said, that's all, just go out with Shirahoshi for a walk. In order to satisfy Shirahoshi's dream of going out and visiting the underwater forest to pay homage to her mother. I understand, father. Bai Ye had been eating, drinking and having fun in the Dragon Palace these past few days, not thinking about the world's source of power at all. After all, with his current strength, it is simply easy to change those plots. This also made the simple Shirahoshi have a strong curiosity about Byakuya. What kind of person is this Byakuya? Neptune looked at Shirahoshi's excited look and felt guilty and said, Father, I heard from Ain and Daski that Lieutenant General Bai Ye seems to be very strong, so let him accompany us. It seems that the scene predicted by Xiarli will not appear. Okay, then you must be careful. As time went by, Neptune and others gradually became relieved. In these few days, the relationship between Ain, Daski and Princess Shirahoshi was extremely close. Neptune looked at Shirahoshi happily leaving with a confused look on his face. My silly girl, what do you know? But what Neptune didn't expect was that Shirahoshi actually refused to go with Shark Star and the Guardian. Chapter 127 The Fishman Rebellion, Fight. Advertise here. Because Shirahoshi is too big, if he leaves from the front of Ryugu Palace, it will definitely attract the attention of countless people. Therefore, they quietly left from behind the Dragon Palace and embarked on the road to the Forest of the Sea. Along the way, Shirahoshi was very excited and kept looking at everything around him. Ever since he entered the hard shell tower 9 years ago to avoid the attack of Vanderdeck and Ix, she never saw the outside environment again. Now, after finally taking a trip out, I am naturally like a curious baby. I want to see and touch everything. Ain and Daski stood on Shirahoshi's shoulders, staring into the abyss, and admiring the beautiful scenery. Bai Ye, on the other hand, followed the 3 of them boredly. In fact, he didn't want to come out. Wouldn't it be delicious if he had time to eat more of Dragon Palace's special delicacies? But facing the siege of 2 pairs of powerful weapons from Ain and Daski. Even though he was as strong as Bai Ye, he had no choice but to surrender and agree to their request. The main purpose of Shirahoshi's trip this time was to go to the Umi no Mori to pay homage to his late mother, Princess Otahime. And Bai Ye remembered that there seemed to be a piece of historical text in the Forest of the Sea. It happened to be brought back in one trip, and it saved trouble later. But halfway through the journey, Bai Ye noticed that Shirahoshi looked at him curiously from time to time. Could it be that even the mermaid is impressed by my handsome appearance? This made Bai Ye a little confused and couldn't help but ask, Princess Shirahoshi, why do you always look at me? Seeing Bai Ye discovering his peeking behavior, Shirahoshi's cheeks turned red. He buried his face on his white chest and said in a weak voice like a mosquito. A few days ago, I accidentally said something bad about you. Ain said that you would have me executed on the spot when you found out. So, I'm particularly curious about how you would execute me on the spot. And what exactly does it mean to do FA rectification on the spot? Hearing this, everyone in Bai Ye was stunned. Why are you three chatting and saying bad things about me? I didn't do anything to you. And the scale of your chats these days is too big, right? Isn't this simply bringing underage fish into bad shape? The most important thing is, what do you mean I will rectify Shirahoshi on the spot? Let's not talk about racial issues first. After all, when the mermaids reach a certain age, they will lose their tails and turn into legs, just like normal humans. On land, there are also a few cases of intermarriage between mermaids and humans. But just because of the body shape, it's simply impossible. You can't stir up a big vat with bamboo sticks, right? Thinking of this, Bai Ye suddenly realized that Luffy's rubber fruit seemed to be the perfect solution to this problem. It can be long or short, and can also be inflated to make it bigger. When it comes to digging trenches, Oda thinks long term. Faced with Shirahoshi's eyes that looked like a curious baby, Byakuya suddenly felt a headache. He couldn't tell Shirahoshi himself what the real meaning of rectification on the spot was, right? Therefore, he had no choice but to look at the culprit Ain. Seeing Bai Ye's eyes wishing he could eat himself. This made Ain panic. Of course, she was not afraid, but ashamed. Ain also didn't expect that Shirahoshi would care so much about what he said to her. At that time, when she wanted to explain to Shirahoshi, she was interrupted by Dasky, thinking that the matter was over. But he never thought that Shirahoshi would ask this question in front of senior brother Bai Ye today. Ain, please explain to Shirahoshi what Dharma rectification is on the spot. If you don't explain it well, you may end up being rectified on the spot. Faced with Bai Ye Kaiguguo's threat, Ayin curled his lips in disdain. If you have the ability, just come, I won't resist. Senior brother Bai Ye can only pretend to scare people. Seeing Ain's unafraid appearance, Bai Ye was so angry that he wished he could be used as his bed and teach Ain a lesson on the spot. The atmosphere suddenly became ambiguous. In the end, it was Dasky who broke the strange silence. Shirahoshi, the meaning of rectification on the spot actually means that you have done something wrong and you need to be punished on the spot. How to punish this? Dasky hesitated, I just want to flick your head. Oh, after listening to Dasky's explanation, Shirahoshi suddenly understood. He turned his head and said to Bai Ye with a guilty look on his face, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said bad things about you. Please put me to death on the spot. After saying that, Shirahoshi stretched his head in front of Bai Ye and closed his eyes in fear, not daring to watch Bai Ye flick his head. As Shirahoshi approached, a faint fragrance lingered in Bai Ye's nose, making Bai Ye feel relaxed and happy. The deep ravine is right in front of Byakuya's eyes, coupled with Shirahoshi's delicate face, and the cute and pitiful expression of fear of pain. Coupled with words full of ambiguity. I wonder which man can resist such temptation. I guess Sonic is the only one who doesn't have such worldly desires, right? Even Bai Ye could hardly hold back his inner desire. I want to look in the system store to see if there is a giant potion that can make people bigger. Shout out, I don't want to be a human anymore. Take the potion and start a vigorous battle. Unfortunately, the system store did not satisfy Bai Ye's dirty ideas. Not even a hair on it. So Bai Ye could only flick Shirahoshi's flawless forehead with an embarrassed look. Shirahoshi opened his eyes and asked eagerly, does this mean you forgive me? Bai Ye nodded. Very good. Seeing Bai Ye's forgiveness, Shirahoshi was so excited that he subconsciously wanted to hug Bai Ye. Let me go. You are repaying kindness with revenge, you actually want to suffocate me to death. Fortunately, Byakuya reacted quickly and avoided Shirahoshi's hug. Although there are countless men who want to die in this way, Bai Ye will never be among them. After experiencing this small episode, the relationship between several people became more harmonious. Arriving at the Umi no Mori where many beautiful corals grow. Shirahoshi, who had been happy all the way, suddenly felt a lot lower. They all know that Shirahoshi's mother, Princess Otahime, is buried in the forest of the sea. Bai Ye asked Ain and Dasky to stay with Shirahoshi to avoid the sudden attack of Vanderdecken X. And he went into the depths of the forest of the sea to find the historical text. At Bai Ye's speed, it won't take long to find the location of the historical text in the forest of the sea. At this time, King Neptune in the Dragon Palace heard the rumors circulating on the Fishman Street. After the rumors have fermented over the past few days, the details have become more and more complete, and they sound just like the truth at first glance. Can't find any flaws. Even some guards in the Dragon Palace thought it was true after learning the news. After all, these days, King Neptune's care for Marine Lieutenant General Bai Ye can be regarded as meticulous. This is all seen by everyone. So they felt that there must be something planned between King Neptune and Bai Ye. As for the content of the plan, it is up to the beholder and the wise to decide. But only a few senior officials in Dragon Palace and Charlie knew the true facts of the incident. It didn't spread. If everyone knew that Fishman Island was about to be destroyed, big trouble would really happen. And after taking care of Bai Ye and others these days, Neptune and the others felt that the destruction of Fishman Island by White Knight would probably never happen. But now if the truth of the matter is told, he was afraid that the residents of Fishman Island would do something irrational and anger Bai Ye. Make Xiarli's divination picture come true. Then all their efforts these days will be in vain. Just when Neptune called several ministers and Shark Star who knew the true situation to discuss in the palace. Suddenly I heard a loud noise coming from the door of Dragon Palace. I can vaguely hear people talking outside. Hand over Marine. Hand over the murderer. Give my brother his life. Quote. Neptune couldn't help but frown. Shark Star, why don't you go see what's going on outside? Yes, father. Not long after, Shark Star came back with a sad face. Neptune was shocked when he saw Shark Star's expression, and quickly asked, what's going on? Back then, when Bai Ye and the others entered Fishman Island, they killed a dozen fishmen who spoke rudely to them. Now all the relatives of the fishmen are making trouble at the gate of the Dragon Palace. There are more than 100 fishmen. Asking us to hand over Marine, they want to avenge their relatives and brothers. Quote. Moreover, they also said that if we are not willing to hand over Marine, this proves that the rumors are true. We in the Ryugu Kingdom are indeed going to join forces with Marine to eliminate all the fishmen on Fishman Street. Quote. At that time, they will not sit still and wait for death, but will choose to take the initiative. Neptune was instantly in a dilemma. Handing over Marine, their efforts these days would be in vain, and Fishman Island would eventually end in destruction. If Marine is not handed over, more Murlocs will believe the truth of the rumors, triggering a collective Murloc riot in the Murloc streets. By then, there will definitely be bloodshed. There is simply no way to choose now. Even if you have to choose, you can only choose the latter. It is better to kill some people than to die all. Shark Star said calmly, I think there must be someone secretly fueling this whole thing. Otherwise, it would be impossible for rumors to spread so quickly in just a few days. And how could these fishmen have the guts to stand at the gate of the Dragon Palace and demand that we hand over Marine? Quote. Hearing Shark Star's words, Neptune reacted instantly, you mean the new Fishman pirates? As a leader in promoting peaceful coexistence with mankind, Neptune naturally knows that the new Fishman pirate group led by Hody Jones has always been against him in Fishman Street. They have been promoting the theory of hatred between fishmen and humans in Fishman Street. In the hearts of those young fishmen, the seeds of hatred towards humans were planted. It gave Neptune a headache. But the hiding places of these guys were extremely secretive. Neptune led his troops to encircle and suppress them several times, but no trace of them was found. If things go on like this, we have no choice but to let it go. Unexpectedly, this time the new Fishman pirates found an opportunity. Neptune kept pacing back and forth next to the throne, but he could never think of a way to get the best of both worlds. Shark Star suggested from the side, Father, I think we should focus on protecting Fishman Island first. If those fishmen cause trouble to Bai Ye, the harm caused will be unpredictable. Neptune suddenly realized, you're right, now bring the guards and imprison all the fishmen at the door. Then, you ask the second and third sons to lead the guards to Fishman Street and strictly guard it. You can't let Fishman Street continue to be in such chaos. Let's wait until Bai Ye leaves to talk about everything. Under Neptune's order, all the guards in the Dragon Palace were dispatched collectively to arrest those who needed to be arrested and to imprison those who needed to be imprisoned. In short, there is only one request. Take away all those who cause trouble. It can be said that Neptune's choice not to hand over Marine was not wrong when facing White Knight, a big killer. But for Hody Jones, what happened on Fishman Street was exactly what he wanted to see. In the dilapidated wooden boat, the senior leaders of the new Fishman pirates gathered here again. Boss, most of the brothers we sent out to spread the news were captured. What should we do next? Hody Jones smiled disdainfully. What's the hurry? There are nearly 70,000 fishmen on Fishman Street. Neptune can't catch them all. By the way, what did Vanderdecken X say? A tall fishman stood up and said, that guy heard that we were willing to hand over Princess Shirahoshi to him, and he agreed without even thinking about it. However, he said that he will not attack with us, and his target is only Princess Shirahoshi. Hody Jones said indifferently, that's okay. Let him capture Princess Shirahoshi first. It will definitely attract some of Neptune's energy, which will only make it easier for us to do things. Quote. Having said that, Hody Jones looked at his senior cadres with a cold look in his eyes and said excitedly, brothers, the time is almost ripe. With the spread of rumors these days, the panic among the fish people has reached an extreme. Now, the guards in the Dragon Palace are arresting fishermen in Fishman Street again, angering most of the fishmen and making them even more dissatisfied with Neptune. And this is the best time for us to take action. It's time for those damn humans to see the anger of our fishmen. As Hody Jones said, the fishmen on Fishman Street are basically in a state of shock and anger. The reason why there was no resistance was simply because there was a lack of a leading figure. And Hody Jones is the leader who is qualified and capable to lead their counterattack against Dragon Palace. All it takes is Hody Jones to stand up and wave his arms. There are at least tens of thousands of fishmen in Fishman Street who will choose to support Hody Jones. By that time, the situation is set. Facing tens of thousands of murlocs, Neptune had no power to fight back. On the other side of the deep sea, Vanderdecken X is also hidden in a dilapidated wooden boat. After receiving a notification from Hody Jones, the operation began. When he saw the news, Vanderdecken X became very excited, his expression became a little ferocious, and he looked up to the sky and roared. Princess Shirahoshi, you can't escape, now you will finally become my wife, Vanderdecken X. Ever since Vanderdecken X touched Shirahoshi with his right hand 9 years ago. In pursuit of Shirahoshi, he never washed his right hand again. For the past 9 years, Vanderdecken X has continuously expressed his love to Princess Shirahoshi. From the original love letter sent to the Dragon Palace Kingdom, it became more serious and changed from letters to parcels. In the end, it even turned into a threatening proposal, which made Shirahoshi worried. Later, the behavior of Vanderdecken X aroused Neptune's anger, and his 3 sons, Poseidon and the 3 brothers, led the army to hunt down Vanderdecken X. Even when wanted, Vanderdecken X will still attack the hard shell tower where Shirahoshi is located with weapons. Constantly threatening Princess Shirahoshi in order to achieve his goal of pursuing her. Thinking of Princess Shirahoshi's beautiful face, Vanderdecken X felt hot all over. Of course, if you think that Vanderdecken X is a pervert who loves beauty but not the country, then you are totally wrong. When Shirahoshi was 6 years old, Vanderdecken X witnessed her crying being able to summon Poseidon-like creatures. This discovery allowed him to learn that Shirahoshi was the legendary mermaid princess who could control the Poseidon species that the ancestors of the first generation had been looking for many years. Therefore, in order to obtain this ability, he dreamed of marrying Shirahoshi. Now I finally have the chance. Hody Jones thought that he was a waste who coveted Princess Shirahoshi's beauty and allowed him to take advantage of her. In order to obtain Fishman Island, he chose to give Princess Shirahoshi to himself. Vanderdecken X sneered and said, when the time comes, I want to see your Hody Jones kneeling in front of me, bowing his head and admitting his mistake. Princess Shirahoshi is mine, Fishman Island is mine, and the whole world is mine. Vanderdecken X is the only king in this world. Quote. The harsh sound continued to echo in the depths of the sea until it disappeared. The entire Fishman Island will become turbulent. And in the sky not far away, there was a bird-like creature wrapped in blue flames, with 2 people sitting on it, flying towards the Fishman Island at an extremely fast speed. In the air, a line of green and blue flames that kept beating was left, which was really beautiful. These are Marco, Jinbei, and Ace. Ace looked at Jinbei who looked nervous and comforted him. After you received the call, we started rushing back to Fishman Island. With Brother Marco's speed, we have minimized the time to return. No matter how anxious you are, it won't make any difference. Quote. And you also said that it was just a prediction. We don't know when it will happen, or even whether it will happen. Hearing Ace's comfort, Jinbei just sighed, touched the phone bug in his arms and said nothing. He wanted to use the phone bug to call King Neptune and ask about the situation on Fishman Island. But because of the emergency, I didn't bring enough dry food for the phone bug. The phone bug is always hungry and it is difficult to make calls. In addition, they are currently flying at high speed, and with the weak survival ability of the phone bugs. There is simply no way to make a call in the fast airflow. So without knowing the situation on Fishman Island, Jinbei could only pray that he could rush back as soon as possible to prevent the tragedy from happening. Marco said, if that Marine Lieutenant General is really Byakuya, you must be careful when fighting. Ace asked curiously, Brother Marco, is this Marine Lieutenant General named Bai Ye really strong? I see that you have been worried. Being able to defeat Jack is enough to prove his strength. Marco said solemnly, and I also suspect that it is not his true strength, otherwise Jack would not have said such words. However, Ace was somewhat dissatisfied with Marco's caution. After experiencing special training from Father Whitebeard, Ace has enough confidence in his own strength. And this time Jinbei and Marco are both here. With the strength of the 3 of them, it will not be difficult to fight against General Marine. Is the Marine Lieutenant General named Bai Ye stronger than the Marine General? Anyway, Ace doesn't think so. He just made up his mind in his heart. When the time comes, we must let that guy taste the feeling of being burned by the flames. Because of him, the banquet ended in a hurry. I'm not full yet. In the forest of the sea, Bai Ye found the historical text that recorded the apology related to Joey Boy. Discovered recyclable items. Historical text, intelligence, historical text, recycling price, 3,000 points of world source power. Very good, another 3,000 points of world source power have been obtained. This trip was not in vain. Bai Ye stored the historical text in the system space and planned to take it back and have Robin record it before recycling it. By the time Byakuya went to find Shirahoshi and the others, Shirahoshi had already paid homage to Princess Otahime. The 3 of them stood at the entrance of the forest of the sea, waiting for Bai Ye. It's just that Princess Shirahoshi was in a very low mood, and her eyes were red from crying. This is the first time Princess Shirahoshi has visited the grave of Princess Otahime to pay her respects since her death. I hold back many words in my heart and want to tell my mother. Seeing this, Bai Ye didn't say much, and the group silently embarked on the road back to the Dragon Palace. We don't know much about Otahime Princess Byakuya, and many of them are vaguely learned from the anime. In fact, Princess Otahime's ideals are good. In order for the fishmen and mermaids to coexist peacefully with humans, she is urging the residents of Fishman Island to sign a petition to move to land. They are also preparing to express their appeal for emigration to land at the World Conference. Even taking personal actions is an example of coexisting with human beings. In addition to leading soldiers to rescue people on the shipwreck, he also personally taught the children on Fishman Island about land. She is willing to act for her ideals, even to the point of giving her life. It's a pity that the pirate world is ultimately a world where strength speaks for itself. If Fishman Island can produce one or two characters who are comparable to General Marine, naturally, the world government will not deliberately make things difficult for the fish people and humans to coexist peacefully. Or, Princess Otahime is strong enough to suppress the entire Fishman Island, and she won't die at the hands of trash like Hody Jones. Even now the situation on Fishman Island is much better than before. This is why Jinbei joined Shichibukai with his strong strength. At the price of hanging the flag of the Whitebeard pirates, Ryugu gained a relatively stable and safe life. There is no way, this is a world of the jungle. Of course, if Princess Shirahoshi can master the innate skill of controlling Poseidon-like creatures, she may be able to bring huge changes to Fishman Island. Just as a few people were walking on the road, a panicked scream suddenly came from not far away. A figure flew towards Shirahoshi quickly from far to near. Shirahoshi had never seen such a scene before. In the past, Vanderdecken X always threw weapons, but when did he change to throwing living people? When Shirahoshi was panicking, Ain and Dasky stood in front of Shirahoshi and grabbed the flying figure. Before the man could be happy, he looked up and saw the marine uniforms worn by Ain and Dusky, and he almost fainted from fright. This is like escaping from the wolf's mouth and entering the tiger's mouth again. Under the questioning of Ain and Dasky, this man poured beans out of a bamboo tube and told everything he knew. It turned out that he originally wanted to come to Fishman Island to try his luck and see if he could catch a female mermaid and auction it off on land. If you can really catch one, you will basically have nothing to worry about in this life. But I never thought that instead of being caught by the mermaid, I was caught by the fishman. According to what he said, he was thrown over from a long distance by a wretched-looking fishman. Hearing what he said, a name popped into Bai Ye's mind. The person with target fruit ability, Vanderdecken X. This time, Vanderdecken X began to throw living people uncharacteristically. Something is definitely going on. Bai Ye began to recall the plot in the anime in his mind. Could it be that the new Fish-Man pirates have launched an attack on Ryugu Palace now? No, according to the anime time. Shouldn't it take more than 2 years? This made Bai Ye a little confused. After all, he hasn't done anything to change the plot yet. While Bai Ye was thinking, a shrill scream came from not far away. One after another, they seemed to be connected into a line in the air. Good guy, how many human pirates did Vanderdecken X capture? Ain and Dasky also felt that something was not right, and they all looked at Bai Ye. There must be a problem at the Dragon Palace. We must rush back as soon as possible. Dasky asked, what about these guys? In just a moment, 7 pirates who were thrown over were kneeling in front of the 4 of them. Bai Ye glanced at the 7 trembling pirates and said calmly, they are all pirates anyway, kill them all. After hearing Bai Ye's order, Dasky drew his sword, and with a flash of sword light, a bright red blood mark appeared on the necks of 7 people at the same time. The fresh air entered the trachea down the throat, turning the faces of the 7 pirates into a purple color, and they were instantly lifeless. This is why Dasky takes care of Shirahoshi. Otherwise, with this sword blow, 7 heads will definitely fall off. Shirahoshi looked at Dasky in surprise. She didn't expect that Dasky usually wore glasses and looked gentle and weak. As a result, he was so decisive when executing the pirates. It would be great if I could be like Dasky. She also wants to become stronger, rather than a crybaby who just cries no matter what happens. The Murloc Square at the entrance of the Dragon Palace was so densely packed with Murlocs that it was impossible to count them. And Hody Jones stood at the highest point of the square, looking at the tens of thousands of Murlocs below with great pride. It was due to his planning that the fishmen in Fishman Street developed strong hostility towards Neptune. As he stood up from the darkness, raised his arms and shouted, all the Murlocs who were bewitched by him were willing to obey his orders. From now on, these fishmen are his men who dominate the world. Controlling such huge power, Hody Jones's ambitions are also growing. He stood on the high platform and said loudly. Neptune colluded with Marine to eliminate the fishmen on Fishman Island. In exchange for the peaceful coexistence between the mermaids and humans, his behavior is a pure betrayal of our Murlocs. Neptune is not worthy of becoming the king of our Murlocs. And I, Hody Jones, discovered Neptune's ambition many years ago and wanted to expose it. But with little strength, he could only flee around to save his life under his wanted order. Now, Neptune finally no longer hides his purpose. Not only was he unwilling to hand over Marine who had killed the fishmen, he even sent the Dragon Palace guards to hunt down fishermen on the Fishman Street. Can we, the fishmen, endure it? Nearly 60,000 Murlocs shouted in unison, I can't bear it. Its sound resounded throughout the Fishman Island, even causing the waves outside the island to surge, frightening countless creatures away. Hody Jones was extremely satisfied with the fish people's reaction and continued. Today, I, Hody Jones, and the new Fishman pirate group I formed will lead our Fishmen clan and inherit the legacy of Fisher Tiger's old brother Yamato Aaron. First, cut Nipton, who betrayed us, into pieces, and kill all the marines inside. Then we will attack the land and make human slaves to be slaughtered by our fishmen. I have to say that Hody Jones is different from Aaron. The fundamental difference between them is that the former have brains and know when to hide and when to stand up and shout. Just what he said just now, Aaron would never be able to say it in his life. For the fishmen, Fisher Tiger is a well-deserved hero of the race. Hearing what Hody Jones said about inheriting Fisher Tiger's legacy was enough to make their blood boil. Led by Hody Jones, the fishmen numbering close to 60,000 began to move toward the Dragon Palace in an aggressive manner. With such a huge thing happening in the square, Neptune would naturally not be unaware of it. But what's the use of knowing? Just rely on the 5,000 mermaid guards in the Dragon Palace. It was simply not enough to deal with these more than 60,000 fishmen. The only news that makes Neptune happy now is that Shirahoshi is no longer in the Dragon Palace. With Byakuya's protection, Shirahoshi should be able to avoid this fishman rebellion. Thinking about the whole thing carefully, it also gave Neptune a headache. Originally, what he and others did was to protect Fishman Island and everyone, including the fish people in Fishman Street. He thought that after Bai Ye left, he would release the captured fishmen and compensate them to a certain extent. As a result, Hody Jones's malicious propaganda led to the current situation. It can be said that one careless move will lead to the whole game being lost. Of course, it can also be seen from this that most fish people do not trust Neptune. Moreover, they have always been extremely resentful towards human beings in their hearts. That's why he did what he did now under the instigation of Hody Jones. When he learned the news, Neptune didn't think about it. It is estimated that only the powerful Bai Ye can take action to solve this fish-human rebellion. But if he really did this, he wouldn't let Bai Ye destroy Fishman Island in the end. This picture exactly confirms Xiarli's prediction. So why are they spending these days doing it? Just to find out in the end that the clown is actually me. Just when Neptune was hesitant, he heard Hody Jones yelling at the gate of the Dragon Palace. Neptune, you traitor to the fishmen, get out of here. When he heard others insulting his father, Shark Star clenched the golden trident in his hand, stood up and said angrily. Father, the matter has reached this point, we can no longer hesitate. Only Shark Star is the most suitable candidate for this. It can be heard that Shark Xing wants to use his own life to buy time for his family to escape. As Neptune is getting old, Shark Star, as the older brother, has to take on the responsibility of protecting his younger brother and younger sister. Therefore, someone from the royal family must stay. Shark Star tried to explain, Colonel Ferguson, this Hody Jones has been plotting against us for a long time. Whether we hand you over or not, what happened today will happen sooner or later. Naturally, you are looking for me. Your unwillingness to hand me over has surprised me, so I must participate in this operation. Quote. Therefore, you should take the soldiers and evacuate with the second and third sons. Quote. Good. Since Neptune became king, he has never felt this excited again. Ferguson shook his head and said, I heard what they said. I killed those fishmen at the gate of Fishman Island. Behind the two, Ferguson, who stayed in the Dragon Palace, also followed them. More than 200 elite marine soldiers on board the Jizu shouted together, fight. The answer is simple, if all the royal family escape. Ferguson said calmly, anyway, we are facing the same crisis now, and you are my companions. With that said, the Jijo, which was originally docked deep in the Dragon Palace, moved towards Ferguson with the help of marine soldiers. Who doesn't want to live? For marine, there is no such thing as leaving your companions and running away. Now, feeling this long-lost atmosphere and looking at the 3,000 royal guards with high morale led by Shark Star. This time, we, marine, will fight with your mermaid tribe together. I took 3,000 royal guards to stop Hody Jones. Neptune was also a little superior. He raised his huge trident and shouted. Neptune looked at Shark Star with tears in his eyes, picked up the huge trident that had not been moved for a long time, and said with a smile. Everyone, come with me and fight. Neptune was stunned for a moment and then advised, Colonel Ferguson, this is an internal matter of our Fishman Island and has nothing to do with you marine. There is no need for you to get involved. Father, you take the remaining 2,000 royal guards, your second brother, and your third brother to find Shirahoshi. The further away you are from the Fishman Island, the better. Quote. You just met by chance this time. Without their fighting spirit, these 5,000 royal guards probably wouldn't be able to resist for even 10 minutes. As well as more than 200 marine soldiers who are ready to be dispatched at any time. As for why Shark Star didn't let 5,000 royal guards go to stop Hody Jones, he followed his family to escape. But if the eldest prince, Shark Star, takes the lead, the 3,000 soldiers can burst out with the fighting spirit to put themselves to death, which can definitely buy Neptune and the others enough time to escape. If I choose to escape, Lieutenant General Bai Ye will probably be able to personally drive me out of the door. Neptune and the others didn't take a few steps before they were probably chased and killed by the fishmen. Let the second and third sons protect Shirahoshi. Today, we, father and son, will go together. Shark Star did not refuse to pick up Neptune. The two of them took tridents to count the 3,000 guards and swam to the entrance of the Dragon Palace. Then these guards who work for the royal family are nothing. Chapter 128. A brilliant shot. Advertise here. Neptune took Shark and Ferguson to the gate of Dragon Palace. Then they saw Hody Jones, the leader, and nearly 60,000 fishmen. There is a vast ocean, and just standing there can give people a strong sense of oppression. There was indescribable excitement on every fishman's face, as if they had been waiting for this day for a long time. Neptune sighed inaudibly and said in a deep voice, "Hody Jones, do you know what you are doing now?" Hody Jones crossed his arms and sneered, "Of course I know this. We want to avenge Boss Fisher Tiger and find a way out for the fishmen. You, Neptune, have betrayed the fishmen and are no longer qualified to be our king. From today on, the matters concerning the Fishmen tribe can only be decided by us, the Fishmen tribe. Hurry and hand over the marine who killed the fishmen. Otherwise, you, the Fishmen tribe, will not be able to withstand the anger of our tribe." After the words fell, 60,000 fishmen shouted in unison. "Hand over marine. Hand over marine." Sound waves are like waves, one wave higher than the other. Ferguson stood on the Jizui with a solemn expression. It is estimated that this situation can only be dealt with after Lieutenant General Bai Ye returns. And all he had to do was hold on until Bai Ye came back. Seeing the excitement of the crowd of more than 60,000 fish, Neptune knew that the matter was irreversible. No matter what he said, there was nothing he could do to stop the fishmen. He could only say in pain, "You are going to destroy the Fishman Island." Hody Jones sternly said, "You are the one who really wants to destroy Fishman Island. After you deal with those Marines, you will also face the trial of our Fishman tribe. You look like you're not ready to hand over Marine, compatriots. Catch them all, tie them to the square and execute them to death in front of all the fishmen." As Hody Jones's order was issued, the fish people who were already in a state of excitement became even more excited. Launch a fearless attack on the royal guards of Dragon Palace. Even if the royal guards of the Dragon Palace are all elite mermaid soldiers, their weapons and armor are far better than those of the mermaids. Faced with an exaggerated disparity of nearly 20 to 1 in numbers, they were still in a one-sided situation. One after another, the mermaid guards died in the hands of the Murlocs, but before they died, they did not take a step back. Instead, they tried their best to kill as many Murlocs as they could before dying. Shark Star was already furious at this time. He waved the golden trident and killed several fishmen beside him, then rushed straight towards Hody Jones. If Hody Jones can really be killed, the Fishmen tribe lacks a leader, so maybe things can turn around. But before Shark Star could get close, several cadres of the new Murloc pirates stood up and blocked Shark Star. Although Neptune is older and has not experienced combat for many years. But with its huge size and terrifying strength, every time he waved the trident in his hand, he could easily knock away a dozen fishmen. It's just that Neptune was unwilling to kill ruthlessly after all. From the beginning of the battle to now, all the hundreds of Murlocs that were knocked away were injured, and none of them died. But the fishman didn't take Neptune's kindness seriously. On the contrary, I felt that if I attacked Neptune, I wouldn't die. At most, I would end up seriously injured. Then why do you still have to fight for Shark Star and Mermaid Guardian? Because of this, there were more and more fishmen around Neptune. Under the uninterrupted attacks of the fishmen, Neptune's physical strength was draining away at an extremely fast rate. The trident in his hand danced slower and slower, and dense scars gradually appeared on his body. Although the scars were not deep and the injuries suffered were not serious, the sheer number of them made them look extremely miserable. Hody Jones looked at Neptune's exhausted appearance and sneered. "It's time to take action yourself. As long as he can kill Neptune with his own hands in front of all the fishmen. Then there is no suspense about him becoming the king of the fishmen." Because Hody Jones was also a former royal guard of the Dragon Palace, the weapon he used was also a trident. I saw Hody Jones swinging his legs like a sharp arrow off the string, rushing towards Neptune at an extremely fast speed, and said sternly, "Neptune, please die." The sharp trident flashed a little cold light in the sun and stabbed towards Neptune's neck. Neptune had just driven away a group of fishmen, and was in an embarrassing situation where his old strength was not exhausted and new strength was not yet developed, and he had no time to react. "Father." Seeing Neptune in danger, Shark Star was frightened and angry. He waved the golden trident in his hand like a madman and forced the two senior cadres in front of him to retreat. Just as he was about to go to support Neptune, he was intercepted by 3 senior officials of the new Fishman pirate group. The 3 of them said, "Prince Shark Star, just be prepared to watch your father die at the hands of Boss Hody. The king of Fishman Island should be Boss Hody. You don't have to be too anxious. Anyway, you will be reunited with your father soon." Shark Star said angrily, "Get out of here." Shark Star desperately wanted to rush out to stop them, but was entangled by the 3 of them and was helpless. Just when Hody Jones was about to succeed, the extreme daylight not far away suddenly bloomed with an extremely bright light. Its brightness far exceeds the sunlight shining on Fishman Island. It makes the entire Fishman Island seem to be in a sea of light. Hody Jones' eyes went white and he couldn't see anything. He was shocked and asked, "What is going on?" Only a roar like thunder exploding in the ears was heard, resounding throughout the entire Fishman Island. This sound even passed through the 10,000-meter deep sea, so that Marco and the 3 people above Fishman Island could hear it. Jinbei's expression suddenly changed and he lost his voice and said, "Damn it, something happened on Fishman Island, we're late." Seeing Jinbei's somewhat lost look, Marco advised, "It's useless to think about it now. Let's wait until we get to Fishman Island." Ace said, "Yeah, let's wait until we get to Fishman Island. Maybe things will turn around." Jinbei clenched his fists feebly and said seriously, "If Fishman Island is really destroyed by Lieutenant General Marine, I will kill him no matter what in this life to avenge my compatriots on Fishman Island." Quote. Ace said indignantly, "Don't worry, if something like this really happens, I will definitely work with you to deal with that nasty Marine." Marco remained silent, but his speed was a little faster. The 4 Bai Ye people who were rushing back to the Dragon Palace also heard such a loud roar and the extremely bright light. Shirahoshi looked in the direction of Ryugu with a sad face, water mist gathered in his eyes, and said with a cry, "Father and brother, will everything be okay?" After Ain and Dasky looked at each other, they asked Bai Ye with some doubts, "Senior brother Bai Ye, could this be?" Bai Ye said, "Yes, this is the effect of firing the only main gun on the Jijo." Because at Bai Ye's suggestion, Frankie changed his mind about using coke as motivation. Set its power source to electrical energy, thermal energy, light energy, etc. As long as enough energy is replenished, the main gun can fire the corresponding shells. Judging from the current situation, there is no doubt that this shot was powered by Ferguson. And looking at this terrifying power, Ferguson probably poured almost all of his power into it. That's why it has such a grand effect. But this also means that the situation at Dragon Palace has become extremely dangerous. Otherwise, Ferguson would not have fired such a shot while losing all his combat power. They must rush back as soon as possible. At the entrance of the Dragon Palace, the dazzling light gradually weakened until it dissipated. Everyone finally recovered from their blindness. But when they opened their eyes, they thought there was something wrong with their eyes, so they rubbed their eyes desperately, but when they opened their eyes again, the picture in front of them still hadn't changed. The dozen or so tall buildings that originally existed at the entrance of the Dragon Palace suddenly disappeared and turned into a huge dark pit nearly a kilometer long. In the deep pit lay countless charred fish man corpses in an extremely large number. There was a disgusting smell of barbecue in the air, the smell of burnt meat. Ferguson's shot killed more than 7,000 murlocs. Of course, this is also because there are too many murlocs and they are too densely packed, so this shot has such great results. This terrifying scene made all the murlocs tremble with fear, looking at the Jiji not far away in disbelief. They never imagined that a ship would bring them such painful consequences. If this ship was to fire another shot, wouldn't they be enough to hit it with a few more shots? Under the threat of death, some fishmen even had the idea of retreating. For a moment, the originally aggressive murlocs lost their morale after being bombarded by this bombardment. Everyone wanted to stay away from the Jijo to avoid becoming the next target of bombardment. On the GZ, Ferguson's entire body was leaning on the railing. His face was pale and his whole body was weak. His trembling right hand slowly brushed away the sweat on his forehead. Looking at the sluggish fish people below, he showed a faint smile and said weakly, "It's finally shot. This shot should make these fish people remember it for a long time. Don't dare to launch another attack in a short period of time, wait until Lieutenant General Bai Ye comes back." Quote. Hody Jones looked at Shark Star, who had escaped from the siege, guarding Neptune, and knew that he had missed the best opportunity to attack. Now the murlocs under his command were looking at the ship not far away with horrified expressions. Hody Jones knew that the current scene deviated greatly from the result he had expected. But the matter has come to this, and we must not give up halfway. These murlocs who were bewitched by him didn't dare to come forward for a while. Someone had to step forward and set an example for them in order to regain their morale. Hody Jones waved the trident in his hand and ordered, "The members of the new fish man pirate group have taken the secret medicine, and Neptune must be eliminated in the shortest possible time." Unlike other fish men who were bewitched, the fish men in the new fish man pirate group are all the staunchest supporters of Hody Jones. Even calling them dead soldiers is not an exaggeration. They firmly believe that only Hody Jones can lead the fish men to true strength. So after hearing Hody Jones's order, they didn't hesitate at all, took out a small blue pill from their bodies and drank it directly. This is the method Hody Jones left behind to successfully capture Fishman Island. This little blue pill is the so-called secret medicine. It can provide the user with several times his own strength in a short period of time, and he is not afraid of pain or death. Of course, this kind of powerful medicine usually has stronger side effects. The cost of using this drug is to rapidly intensify the burning of vitality. The hair of those fishmen who took the little blue pills turned gray at a speed visible to the naked eye, their skin also lost its luster and became flabby, and the whole person seemed to be much older. But the effect is also extremely obvious. The well-equipped Dragon Palace guards are no match for them. Even Shark Star, who was able to deal with the siege of 5 senior cadres at the same time before. Now facing only 2 high-ranking cadres who had taken drugs, they already pale in comparison, leaving scars on their bodies. Hody Jones, who gave the order, did not take the secret medicine. In his opinion, he is the king of the fishmen who wants to lead the fishmen to land. If his lifespan was shortened because of the secret medicine, wouldn't he be making wedding dresses for other fishmen after he has been busy all these years? Of course, he was not idle, but rushed to the location of the Jijo with 6 senior cadres who had taken the secret medicine. It is this ship that the fishmen fear. If this ship can be destroyed, the morale of the fishmen can be restored. It was natural for him to take the lead on such a crucial matter. Ferguson noticed Hody Jones rushing towards him with his men, and could only sigh helplessly. He didn't expect Hody Jones's attitude to be so determined. Without knowing how many more shots the Jijo could fire, he dared to lead his men to resolutely attack him, which can be regarded as a courageous person. It's just that I don't have any strength now and can't resist at all. If he falls into the hands of Hody Jones, he can only be slaughtered by him. Oh, I am so ashamed of Lieutenant General Bai Ye. After realizing that he might die, Ferguson thought silently in his mind. During the period of following Bai Ye, Ferguson felt that Bai Ye was not a good person, but he was definitely a qualified marine. So this is why he is willing to work under Bai Ye all the time. But now it seems that may be the end of it. More than 200 Marines on the ship all stood in front of Ferguson, picked up their guns and shot at Hody Jones and others. But bullets were like toys in front of those fishmen who had taken the secret medicine. You can knock it away with just a slap. Even if it hits their bodies, the bullet cannot even break through the outermost layer of skin and will have no effect. Seeing Hody Jones already on the deck, Ferguson thought silently, my career as a Marine is about to end. However, before Ferguson could feel too much emotion, 2 sword energy fell from the sky, directly knocking down Hody Jones who had just boarded the deck. The eyes of Ferguson and those Marines showed the joy of surviving the disaster. Ferguson, you owe both of us a life this time. 2 graceful figures holding long swords appeared in front of Ferguson. They were Ain and Dasky who had returned in time. Ferguson breathed a sigh of relief and said, whatever you owe, it's best to owe more. I can't pay it back anyway. Since the 2 of them are back, it also proves that Lieutenant General Bai Ye is back. Then you don't have to worry about this time. Sure enough, Ferguson looked up and spotted Bai Ye's figure in midair. And Shirahoshi was beside Bai Ye, with big eyes red from crying, looking at Neptune and Shark Star whose bodies were covered with scars. Behind them are the 2nd Prince, 3rd Prince of Dragon Palace and 2,000 royal guards. When the 2nd and 3rd oldest brother saw their father and elder brother, they were all surrounded by fishmen. Without saying a word, he rushed into the battle group with 2,000 guards. Then your father, your brother, and the guards who have been protecting you will not be harmed. His cries once attracted quite a few Poseidons to gather around him. Hody Jones has gone crazy, and so have the bewitched fish people. Now he was even more panicked. Dasky fights Hody Jones alone. They will eventually encounter danger. When you can fully understand it, you can completely control this power. And use this power to better protect your family. Staying here has no effect at all. You will still die in the end. Byakuya stood beside Shirahoshi, looking at the chaotic battlefield below, and said calmly. Bai Ye continued, go and feel this power carefully and understand why it comes. Not for anything else, just because Ferguson's shot brought nearly 10,000 points of world source power to Bai Ye. Why are you back? So they also need their own growth. If you are strong enough, you can stop this war. Ain was responsible for stopping the 6 senior cadres. The battle between the 2 was fierce. You mean? He couldn't be a nanny for the rest of his life. Of course, if their lives are in danger during the battle, Bai Ye will also take action. But Bai Ye had no intention of taking action. With that said, Byakuya focused his attention on the battlefield below and ignored Shirahoshi who looked thoughtful. Neptune was stunned for a moment. Was Bai Ye going to take action? Will Fishman Island be saved after all? Shirahoshi recalled that when he was 6 years old. Listening to Bai Ye's words, Shirahoshi stopped crying and sobbed, but I don't know anything. Nothing like this has happened again in 9 years. They don't seem to hurt themselves, and they completely obey their orders. But such an ability only appeared once. There was nothing I could do to stop them. Quote. Neptune said anxiously, foolish, you should take Shirahoshi and leave the Fish Man Island as soon as possible. The 3rd child curled his lips and said, Father, don't worry, Lieutenant General Bai Ye said that he will be responsible for handling the matter this time. Crying blindly will not give you great strength. You have a powerful force in you, haven't you noticed? But Bai Ye paid more attention to the more than 50,000 fishmen below. I happened to meet Sister Shirahoshi and Lieutenant General Byakuya on the road, so we rushed back immediately. Chapter 129 Drug-Addicted Loser. Advertise here. When Bai Ye asked about the rules for obtaining world source power, he noticed a very crucial point. The people killed by Bai Ye's men will also calculate the world source power for Bai Ye. It is precisely because of this that Bai Ye wants to become a marine. Control this huge force and better obtain the world's source power. Of course, although Bai Ye is bloodthirsty, he also has his own bottom line. The people who have been killed since going to sea basically have their own way of killing themselves. Otherwise, with his strength, he will directly transform into a murderous maniac. If an island is destroyed, it will definitely be able to obtain a large amount of world source power in a short period of time. Improve integration faster. But he didn't choose this way. However, the tens of thousands of fishmen in front of him chose to rebel, which gave Bai Ye a reasonable excuse to take action, allowing him to massacre fishmen and obtain the source of world power. Of course, Bai Ye can also choose the same method as Alabasta. Use the Emperor engine to shock all the Murlocs. In this case, the rebellion can be resolved without hurting anyone. However, Bai Ye didn't want to do this. Ever since he came to Fishman Island, Bai Ye really didn't have the slightest fondness for these fish people who had always hated humans. Moreover, Bai Ye has decided not to use the Emperor engine as a marine. From now on, the Emperor engine will be the exclusive skill of Yi, the leader of the Yi organization. This can better distinguish the identities of the two. Bai Ye can also use this characteristic to clear others' doubts about him. However, before taking action, Bai Ye came to Neptune and with a casual strike, several invisible chi energy shot out, directly killing more than a dozen Murlocs who rushed up. Neptune and others looked at the ferocious fishmen, who were like ants in front of Bai Ye, without any resistance. A bitter feeling arose in my heart. Is this a strong man with the power to destroy Fishman Island? I'm afraid it would only take a little effort to kill all the tens of thousands of fishmen in front of him. It would be like getting bruises all over your body, or even risking death. Bai Ye asked symbolically, King Neptune, I am very satisfied with the hospitality you have given us these days. So, I'm willing to help you get through this. What do you think? Although Bai Ye can also forcefully kill these fishmen. But if this is really done, it will not be good for Bai Ye's reputation if word spreads about it. After all, he is now a Marine Lieutenant General. From Bai Ye's point of view, given Neptune's current situation, it was absolutely impossible to refuse his help. Unless he wants the entire Dragon Palace Kingdom to be destroyed. And once he had Neptune's consent, Bai Ye didn't have any worries when he took action. After all, this is the king of a country that joins the world government, and he asked for it on himself. And as a Marine, I naturally can't just sit back and watch. Just when Bai Ye was waiting for Neptune to nod and go through the motions. Then he saw a difficult look on Neptune's face. After hesitating for a moment, he said, Thank you Lieutenant General Bai Ye for your kindness. I can still cope with the current situation. So, please don't take action, Lieutenant General Bai Ye, I have my own way to solve it. After listening to Neptune's words, Bai Ye held Feng Ming's right hand, and his right hand that was about to draw the sword froze instantly. I'll go, what's going on? You're about to be beaten to death, why don't you let me take action? Looking at Neptune's white and fat body, there were wounds all over it, and the blood had dyed his armor blood red. Bai Ye asked suspiciously, does this old man have masochistic tendencies? Thinking of this, Bai Ye couldn't help but feel a chill, and quietly distanced himself from Neptune. Bai Ye frowned and asked, Are you sure you really don't want me to take action? Neptune smiled wryly and nodded. Since Neptune was resolute, Bai Ye did not force it, but returned to the extreme day. The path is chosen by oneself. Since you won't let me take action, there is no need for me to help you solve the trouble with a shameless face. Judging from the current situation, Neptune and others will be destroyed sooner or later. Waiting until then makes no difference. Neptune looked at Bai Ye's leaving figure and let out a long sigh. He didn't know whether his choice was right or wrong. But he really didn't want the Fishman tribe and the Mermaid tribe to destroy the Fishman Island where they had lived for thousands of years in Bai Ye's hands. At the very least, it wasn't destroyed during his lifetime. Of course, Neptune was not just waiting to die like this. In his calculation, Jinbei should be back soon. As long as Jinbei comes back, the Murloc rebellion will be put down. The battle continues. Shirahoshi didn't notice Byakuya coming back at this time. Instead, he concentrated on recalling the feeling of talking to the Poseidon class. The battle between Dusky and Hody Jones was a close one. Because Hody Jones has participated in the Royal Dragon Palace Guards, he is quite proficient in using the trident, and his combat experience is not inferior to Dasky. Moreover, as a fish man, Hody Jones's strength is more than 10 times that of a normal man on land. As a female swordsman, Dasky is beyond the reach of flattery at this point. If it weren't for his petite stature, he could easily dodge Hody Jones' attack. And during this period of time, Bai Ye has been giving guidance on Kendo, and Kendo has made rapid progress. He was probably defeated by Hody Jones's trident long ago. From the current point of view, the battle between the two is evenly matched. But Bai Ye knew that Hody Jones still had the secret medicine hidden in him. If he suddenly took the secret medicine during the battle and his strength increased several times, it would be easy to kill Dasky by surprise. However, this can be regarded as training Dasky's adaptability. After all, Bai Ye was here, so it was impossible for anything to happen to Dasky. Ain gradually gained the upper hand in the battle with the 6 senior leaders of the new Fishmen Pirates. Although Ain's swordsmanship is not as strong as Dasky's, he relies on his weird fruit ability. It is still quite advantageous to deal with these fish people who don't know how to use domineering. I saw Ai Yin shooting a fishman's body continuously with his hand, and the fishman suddenly became 24 years younger. The body shrank in an instant and turned into the appearance of a 7 or 8-year-old, with a tiger-like head and a tiger-like brain. The clamoring voice in his mouth also became vague and full of milky taste. It looks quite cute, with a bit of joy. But in battle, such sudden changes are extremely fatal. Ain was extremely ruthless. Before the fishman could react, the tiger-headed head soared into the sky. This weird ability frightened the remaining fish people, but they were helpless. Without armed domineering power, they have no way to stop this weird ability. With the combination of swordsmanship and devil fruit, Ain quickly eliminated the remaining fishmen. After giving Bai Ye a proud look, he joined the battle on Dusky's side. Facing the two swordsmen Ain and Dusky at the same time, Hody Jones seemed a little unprepared. In addition, he also saw how his men died under Ain's strange fruit ability just now. This makes him even less able to use his full strength in battle. Always be careful about Ain touching his body. In such a grueling battle, in less than 3 minutes, there were several sword marks on his body that were deep enough to show the bones. If he continued to fight like this, he would have no choice but to be hacked to death in frustration. Hody Jones was also a very decisive person. When he saw something was wrong, he immediately took out several small dark blue pills from his arms and took them. The secret medicine he took was not exactly the same as the secret medicine his men took. His men were taking the first-generation secret medicine, while he was taking the improved second-generation secret medicine. The strength that can be improved is stronger and the consumption of vitality is less. So you can take multiple pills at one time. Because the quantity of this potion was not large, Hody Jones kept it all on himself. It was not distributed to his subordinates. When taking multiple secret pills, Hody Jones's hair has only become a little gray, and his skin has become slightly looser. However, the muscles all over his body expanded, causing his clothes to burst, and his whole body more than doubled in size in an instant. The powerful effects of the drug continue to impact Hody Jones's nerves. His eyes turned scarlet and he roared crazily, "Let you Marines mind your own business. I will kill you all today, then chop them into pieces and eat them in my stomach." Every blow he swung was accompanied by an extremely strong wind. The power is more than 5 times stronger than before. And the speed is also extremely fast. One punch knocked Ain back several meters with his sword, leaving him panting. After receiving the punch, Dasky's face turned red, and her slender arms and sword trembled uncontrollably. Obviously, with the strength of the two of them, they simply cannot face the drugged Hody Jones. Hody Jones laughed arrogantly, "Ha ha ha, with your strength as Marine, there is no way to stop me. A man as strong as me is destined to become the king of the fish people. Quote. I'm going to kill you Marines to avenge Brother Aaron. You just follow stupid Neptune and go to hell together." With that said, Hody Jones appeared in front of the two of them, his muscles tensed, and he punched out. Its power is like a tiger descending from a mountain, breaking the air with a harsh roar. Boom, boom. 2 deafening sounds sounded at the same time, and Hody Jones felt the touch from his fist. It doesn't feel like it's punching through a person's body. Instead, it was too hard, making his fists hurt. Hody Jones took a closer look and saw that the Lieutenant General Bai Ye mentioned by Marine was standing in front of the 2 female Marines. The thing that blocked his fist was nothing else, but Feng Ming's scabbard on Bai Ye's waist. Hody Jones's expression changed, his fist suddenly exerted force, and all his strength was concentrated on his fists. But it still couldn't shake the scabbard even a bit. Bai Ye said calmly, "Aren't you just a drugged loser? Why are you pretending to be 13? If you have the ability, just defeat me." Chapter 130 Kill 3 people instantly. Advertise here. Bai Ye's right hand holding the scabbard exerted another force. The unrivaled force directly broke Hody Jones's finger bones, and the whole man was knocked back dozens of meters. His feet left 2 obvious marks on the ground. The strength gap between the 2 sides is extremely obvious. However, Bai Ye did not take action. Instead, he asked curiously. "I just heard you mention Aaron. Is it Aaron from Donghai?" Hody Jones felt the severe pain in his hands, and his excellent physique and secret medicine worked together to slowly repair the damaged fingers. After hearing Bai Ye's inquiry, Hody Jones deliberately wanted to delay time and buy himself more time to heal. Hody Jones replied, "Yes, Brother Aaron ruled an island in the East China Sea and made the island's residents slaves of the fishmen. This is what the fishmen should do. But if he was so capable, wouldn't he die in Marine's hands? HMPH, it was only because of Brother Aaron's lack of strength that he was killed by your Marines. But Brother Aaron and I are different." Bai Ye smiled and said, "Then you are saying that you are very strong." Hody Jones took out a blue bottle filled with secret medicine from his arms, threw it directly into his mouth, and bit the bottle together. Holding the pain caused by the drugs, Hody Jones gritted his teeth and said, "I admit that you are very strong, but I am not weaker than you now." Ah, ah, ah. Hody Jones roared like a beast, and his muscles oozed blood due to excessive expansion. The blood quickly vaporizes under the extremely high temperature of the body. It made Hody Jones' whole body seem to be wrapped in blood mist, like a blood demon crawling out of hell. Bai Ye looked at Hody Jones's appearance with great interest. He looked quite intimidating. It's just that the cost of using it is too high. Hody Jones' legs suddenly exerted force, leaving 2 holes on the ground. The afterimage of the original place appeared in front of Bai Ye before it disappeared. He raised his fist, which was as big as a human head, and hit Bai Ye hard on the head. But in Hody Jones' disbelieving eyes, Bai Ye only stretched out one finger and punched him with all his strength. Hody Jones muttered, "That's impossible. Bai Ye shook his head and smiled. Isn't this impossible? It's just that your vision is too narrow and you don't know the real strong person. Like Aaron, after seeing the strength of the strong, he could only shrink his tail in despair. Hiding in a small corner of the East China Sea, bullying ordinary people who have no strength at all. You still know too little. Quote. Hody Jones' eyes flashed with confusion as he listened to Bai Ye's words. Is this just the legendary brother Aaron who does whatever he wants on land? But why do you know so much about it? Because the two of us are destined, the Aaron you have been talking about died in my hands. Now, you are going to die in my hands too. This is really a coincidence that a mother gives a gate of opening to her clever son. What a coincidence. Quote. Hody Jones's pupils shrank, and he looked at Bai Ye with a look of horror. Did brother Aaron die in the hands of the Marine in front of him? Before Hody Jones could think more, a sword flashed before his eyes. The next moment, he felt his eyesight rising. The corpse in front of him looked very familiar. It seemed to be his own body, but it was missing a head. While Byakuya was dealing with Hody Jones, Vanderdak and Ix wanted to take advantage of the chaos and abduct Shirahoshi. As a result, they were discovered by Ain and Dasky, who had been on guard, and were killed on the spot. The new Fishman pirates have almost lost all their senior cadres, and the chief culprit, Hody Jones, has been eliminated. Vandy Dek and Ix, who had been pestering Princess Shirahoshi for many years, also died. The historical text is also available. On the huge Murloc Island, only the tens of thousands of Murlocs in front of them can provide the world's source of power. Because the leader of the new Fishman pirate group was almost dead, the morale of the tens of thousands of fishmen gradually collapsed. It's not like he used to live his life to the outside world. Although Neptune and others were scarred and looked miserable, their lives were not in danger. It looks like I can hold on for a while longer. Bai Ye didn't want to waste any more time and kept waiting. Bai Ye is condescending, his eyes are indifferent, the cloak of justice behind him is moving in the wind. Like a god, he gently lifted Feng Ming in his hand, and then suddenly waved it towards the fish people below. At the next moment, whether it is Neptune and the fishmen who are fighting, are not far away, Jinbei, Marco and Ace are coming. They all saw it, and it was a scene that shocked them to the point of being unforgettable for the rest of their lives. An extremely magnificent light blue sword energy shot out like a bright crescent moon. In almost the blink of an eye, he swept directly through the crowd of fish. Falling into the Fishman Street in the distance, I heard a boom. All the buildings on Fishman Street were destroyed instantly, and huge cracks appeared on the ground. The entire Fishman Street was directly wiped out from Fishman Island by Bai Ye's sword. Near the Dragon Palace, nearly 50,000 Murlocs were cut in half by this sword, and the scene suddenly became extremely bloody. Only the fishmen surrounding Neptune and others were not affected. For a moment, the entire Fishman Island seemed to be raining blood, and the air was filled with a thick smell of blood, which was extremely pungent. All that could be seen were mutilated corpses and blood flowing everywhere. Everyone looked at what was happening in front of them in horror. So many fishmen were actually killed by the white Yoruichi sword. They all looked at Bai Ye standing in the sky, and a question arose in their hearts. What kind of monster is this? Neptune looked sadly at the Murloc corpses scattered all over the ground. These people were all his citizens a day ago, living peacefully in Fishman Street. Unexpectedly, in just one day, they all died, and Fishman Street may no longer exist. Neptune looked at Bai Ye and asked angrily, Lieutenant General Bai Ye, didn't I say you don't need to take action? What are you doing now? In fact, Neptune regretted this sentence after he asked it. Although Bai Ye did kill nearly 50,000 fishmen, this sword could be regarded as saving their Dragon Palace kingdom. And compared with the predicted destruction of Fishman Island, just destroying a Fishman Street is not that excessive. Instead of thanking him, he asked sternly. If it arouses Bai Ye's dissatisfaction and cuts him with another sword. That is, there is no place to cry. Bai Ye sheathed his sword and said calmly, first of all, I don't need to report to you what I did. Secondly, if the Murlocs injured my men, they must pay the price. Quote. As he spoke, Bai Ye pointed to the pale Ferguson not far away. Neptune looked in the direction pointed by Bai Ye. Except for Ferguson's pale face, he couldn't see any injuries on his body. Even the military uniform he was wearing was neat, without even a single wrinkle. Neptune looked at the scars all over his body with confusion in his eyes. Is this considered an injury for him? So am I going to die soon? Ferguson was also stunned. He wanted to remind Lieutenant General Bai Ye, I just lost strength and was not injured. But before he could speak, Bai Ye suddenly asked, Ferguson, are you injured? Ferguson and Bai Ye have known each other since the Marine Elite training camp, and they have worked under Bai Ye for half a year. How could he still not understand what Bai Ye meant? Even if there is no problem in this situation now, he himself must have a problem. I saw that Ferguson's pale face gradually became abnormally rosy, he opened his mouth and vomited scarlet blood, and lay down on the railing. Looking at that look, it seemed like he was going to die in the next second. Ferguson's breath was weak and he said intermittently, Lieutenant General Bai Ye, I'm injured. I'm injured so badly. Seeing Ferguson being so sensible, Bai Ye nodded with satisfaction. Then he looked at Neptune and said calmly, "Did you see that Ferguson is my most capable subordinate and the one I value most, but now he has been injured like this by these damn fishmen. Why do you think I should take action? Do you think I should take action?" The dying. Ferguson listened to Bai Ye's words, but for the abnormal rosiness on his face. I guess his face is as red as a monkey's butt now. If Bai Ye had said these words before he was injured, he might still be a little moved. But now, these words sound false. If he hadn't reacted quickly just now, he would have immediately spit out a mouthful of blood. It is estimated that Lieutenant General Bai Ye will directly beat his most capable subordinate, to the point of vomiting blood. Neptune watched Bai Ye and Ferguson's performance in astonishment. He didn't expect that a Marine Lieutenant General, a strong man, could be so shameless. If Ferguson was really that important and suffered such a serious injury, why don't you quickly find someone to treat him and you are still here enjoying Ferguson's performance as if you were watching a play? Do you really think us mermaids have no brains? Although Neptune wanted to refute, he did not have the courage. Bai Ye's indifferent tone just now proved Bai Ye's attitude. If you kill those fishmen, you will kill them. If you are unhappy, you have to hold it in for a while. Now, Ferguson's injury can be regarded as giving Neptune a step down. You have to go down this step if you don't want to. If he continues talking, the man in front of him will even destroy Fishman Island. Neptune sighed helplessly. In the face of absolute strength, he was helpless. Since these Murlocs have injured Ferguson so seriously, Lieutenant General Bai Ye, it is reasonable to take action. Thank you, Lieutenant General Bai Ye, for saving us. Although Neptune was unwilling to take action against Bai Ye, he was not an ignorant person. He didn't know exactly why Bai Ye took action, but he knew that Bai Ye did save the entire Dragon Palace Kingdom. Facing Neptune's thanks, Bai Ye smiled and said nothing. His attention now is all on the system panel. Acquire 0.9 points of world source power. Acquire 1.1 points of world source power. Get 1 point of world source power. Acquire 0.8 points of world source power. Open black lens bracket. Close black lens bracket. Get 20 points of world source power. He hadn't seen such a dense system of prompts for a long time. Moreover, the fishmen on Fishman Island are generally stronger than those in the East China Sea. Therefore, more world source power is obtained. After roughly adding it up, almost 40,000 points of world source power will arrive in the account. This is still before the plot of Fishman Island has been resolved. World source power. 83,500. Bai Ye almost laughed out loud when he saw it. The world source power obtained by this kind of reasonable slaughter is too powerful. However, just when Bai Ye was immersed in the power of the world and couldn't extricate himself, 3 figures suddenly fell from above him and attacked Bai Ye at the same time. The secret art of Fishman Karate, Takerui Khan. Sacred fire Shiranui. Qingyanyan. The 3 people are Jinbei, Ace and Marco, who came from the New World. When they first arrived at Fishman Island, they saw with their own eyes the white Yoruichi sword killing tens of thousands of fishmen. The strong visual impact directly made Jinbei lose his mind, his eyes were scarlet, and he took the lead in attacking Bai Ye. Ace and Marco, on the other hand, sensed Bai Ye's strength from that sword. To prevent Jinbei from having an accident, he will also take action, and the action will be his ultimate move. Besides, the 2 of them are pirates and Byakuya is a marine, so they are inherently opposed to each other. Facing marine, they certainly couldn't hold back. Jinbei gathers a continuously rotating water ball in his palm, which has a powerful impact. Its power can even pass the water through the enemy's body, which is enough to penetrate Poseidon-like creatures that are larger than mountains. Ace's hands turned into blazing flames, and the leaping flames continued to extend forward and back, forming 2 spears made entirely of flames, exuding extremely high temperatures, and stabbed towards Bai Ye. Marco also used the flames that came with the fruit's ability. The green flames condensed the phoenix tail feathers in his hands and turned into flame fists to attack Bai Ye. Although the temperature is not as high as that of Ace, the power contained in it is indeed much stronger. It is no exaggeration to say that these 3 people can fight against General Marine head-on. Of course, it is limited to confrontation. If there is a protracted battle, the 3 of them will definitely die. And Bai Ye will now face the siege of the 3 of them. Ain shouted anxiously, "Senior brother Bai Ye, be careful." Dasky also looked at Bai Ye with a sad expression. Neptune, on the other hand, recognized Jinbei's moves and quickly shouted, "You can't take action." Facing the thunderous offensive of the 3 men, Bai Ye did not dodge or dodge, as if he did not react and just allowed the 3 of them to attack. To be honest, Bai Ye was quite surprised that the 3 of them could appear at the same time. However, they still couldn't make up for the gap in strength. Bai Ye released his haki and sensed the attack of the 3 men. Although the 3 of them seemed to take action together, there was actually a sequence. Marco was the fastest, and he shot later but attacked first. Ace is second. Jinbei was the first to strike, but due to his size, his attacks were the slowest. Bai Ye aimed at Marco according to their attack sequence, punched him in the air, and his armed domineering energy surged out. It seemed to condense into an invisible iron fist in the air, directly scattering Marco's light cyan flame like a phoenix tail. The light cyan flames and light pink domineering reflected each other in the air, looking extremely beautiful. But when the punch fell on Marco's expression suddenly changed, and the crisp sound of bones breaking was heard. The whole person flew backwards faster than when he came. The moment he punched, Feng Ming from Bai Ye's waist flew out on his own. Only the sound of a sword was heard, and a white light flashed at extremely fast speed. Feng Ming pierced directly through Ace's flame spear and hit Ace hard on the chest. A bloody mark the size of a walnut was left on Ace's chest. Ace fell to the ground on the spot, coughing up blood. At this time, Jinbei's attack had already arrived in front of Bai Ye. However, Byakuya's face did not show the panic that Jinbei imagined. Jinbei only felt that his right hand holding the water polo was suddenly grabbed by Bai Ye. Suffering from the impact of a terrifying force, he was unable to reach forward even half an inch. The next moment, the water polo and Jinbei were directly forced into the ground by Bai Ye. The entire ground area of nearly 100 meters was suddenly smashed into rubble by the powerful shock wave, and cracks spread in all directions like a spider web. Bai Ye stood in the deep pit and patted the dust as if nothing had happened. It looked like he had done something small unintentionally. Ferguson looked at the scene in front of him in shock, and rubbed his eyes desperately, as if he wanted to make sure that what he saw before him was true. This is too outrageous. The first team of the Whitebeard Pirates, Captain, Phoenix, Marco. The second team, Captain, Fire Fist, Ace. Jinbei, one of the 7 warlords of the sea. The combined attack of the 3 men was instantly resolved by Lieutenant General Bai Ye. And it also caused serious injuries to these 3 people. Although Ferguson knew that Bai Ye was very strong. But this is no longer a very strong problem at present. Even if General Marine is faced with the same situation as Byakuya. The most they can do is what they are now. When Bai Ye saw Ace and Marco, he still had murderous thoughts in his heart. Both of these people are very key characters in the plot. In particular, Ace triggered the climax of One Piece, the battle for the top. That battle actually made Bai Ye feel excited while watching the anime. If the plot points of the battle on top can be changed, the world source power gained will definitely be quite a lot. It is no less than the world source power gained from harvesting tens of thousands of fishmen this time. An idea suddenly came to Bai Ye's mind. If the 2 of them were captured and brought back to Marine headquarters. Is it possible to recreate the battle on top in the anime? A battle at the top caused by oneself. Or Bai Ye used the identity of Yi to reveal the news about Blackbeard to Ace and Marco. Then, see how things develop. These 3 methods can obtain a large amount of world source power. But Bai Ye thinks the second and third options are more interesting. Marco stood up with difficulty, and a blue healing flame bloomed in his hand to treat his injuries. Seeing how Bai Yoruichi seemed to be thinking about how to deal with himself and Ace, Chunin couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness in his heart. He didn't expect that he already valued Bai Ye very much. That's why I went to Fish Man Island with Jinbei and Ace. But he didn't expect Bai Ye's strength to be far beyond his imagination. At this moment, Marco even saw the Whitebeard in Bai Ye's youth. They are also powerful, unrivaled.